This episode is brought to you by the Roxbury Urban Dive Bar, located at 1743 Grafton Street, right on the corner there of Grafton, right across from the Scotiabank Center. Make sure to hit up Roxbury before a Moosehead game. You'll get a lot cheaper drinks, cheaper food than what you'll pay in there at the Scotiabank Center. At the Roxbury, $5 food all day, all night. You cannot beat that. They have a DJ 7 nights a week. On Sunday night, consider it Sin Sundays. That is an industry night. $3 shots and $6 doubles, $5 pints. Prices like that you cannot beat downtown Halifax. Wednesday night, consider it 90s night. The Boozy Brunch, $5 food, $15 pitchers of Caesar. That is a weekend special. Whenever you're hungover, get in there, get some brunch, $5 food, $15 pitchers of Caesar. That is a great bang for your buck. And remember, when you are supporting the Roxbury, you are directly supporting the High Button. So make sure to get into the Roxbury, get some food, get some drinks, get some good service, and you'll be all right.
I just don't give it though.
Is it?
Awesome. Yeah, really good.
It's not mine. My mom bought it, but
yeah, it's great coffee. Tell moms I appreciate it.
All right, I'll let her know. All right, boys, we're going here. Dance, dudes, welcome.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
You comfortable?
Not bad. Yeah.
That's the one key when people come is just make sure they're comfortable. Because if they're not comfortable, they don't fucking talk the way I want them to talk.
Exactly.
That's the first key. So if you're comfortable,
I'm not feeling pressured. If that's what you're getting at.
That's what I'm asking.
I'm good to go. Let's get rolling.
Unreal. All right. So dudes, Dance, actually, first of all, talk about the jersey. Awesome that you brought the St. Louis jersey.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think you had that. Unreal.
Yeah.
SMU jersey, where's it at?
I don't know. I looked for it and then I remember I don't think I had it. I don't think Steiny gave it to me for some reason. I think he, my guess would be Steiny's probably like roams the house with it, late at night, just throw my jersey on, reliving old championships.
Just a pair of leggings under?
Yeah, I don't know. Tighty whities on Steiny.
Oh, man.
Sure.
Jesus. Yeah, because you guys won the championship the second year. You guys would think you'd be able to keep the jersey. You know what I mean?
You would think, right?
I guess SMU might be cheap and they might want to auction it off.
Steiny's like Big Brother though, right? You know that reality show, Expect the Unexpected? That's Steiny.
You watch that show, Big Brother?
I used to religiously.
You're in it? You like
when
that?
I was like 9.
Do you like the unexpectedness? Do you like that, like when you're playing? Do you like the coach is kind of like, you get to the rink and you're just like, nah, who knows what kind of mood he's in today?
It's fun. It's entertaining. That's
doubt.
for sure, right? Because you never know if a chair is going to go across the room or if you're going to get a pat on the back, right? But yeah, it's fun.
Some guys can't handle that though. Like there's, some kids that are probably our players go to the rink and they're thinking, fuck. Like if coach loses it today, then they're sitting there like great fidgety when the coach is losing their mind. And the
that's
guy's
today's
like,
hockey, right?
Yeah.
Today's hockey fucking soft as hell, man. Jesus.
Hugfest.
Best Steiny story.
Yeah.
I get there the first night because when I came to Halifax, I lived with Steiny, right? For I don't know, 6-9 months, something like that. First night, I'm living with him. He's making, he asked me if I'm hungry, and I say, oh yeah, I'm pretty hungry. And he says, all right, I'll go make us some food. Throws in 4 pieces of toast, cooks up some bacon, throws a bunch of bacon. So he gives me 2 bacon sandwiches. He's in his underwear. He's got his he had a t-shirt on. Can't remember the t-shirt. He just rolled back on the couch, feet up on his little recliner there, watching Family Guy, having bacon sandwiches, crumbs all over his tea. That's Steiny to a T right there. Family Guy, bacon sandwiches, the odd pulled pork meal. He loves making his pulled pork.
Any sauce?
I don't remember the sauce, man.
Okay, go.
Just bacon and bread.
Bacon. There might have been a little bit of margarine or butter on there.
I'm picturing him breathing and crumbs and bacon bits flying out.
Just watching Family Guy it's the funniest thing in the world.
That's amazing,
right? Oh, yeah.
What like the first night in a new billet's house is probably a little nerve-wracking. So when you see your coach / billet just up there watching Family Guy having a time, I bet that's an easy situation to get comfortable in.
Well, I was also almost 30 years old too, right? So it's not like I was 16, right? But at the same time,
I was going to ask you how, like, what's the age difference?
I was 29.
Guys?
Well, Steiny, he was a first rounder in 1942. So no, I think he was probably, what is he? Maybe 10, 12 years older than me. I'm thinking something like that.
I knew you
weren't
just a kid going in there, so it's...
Yeah, I was 29. But still, though, right? It was a new situation, and I wanted to make sure that everything was. But I was just kind of like hockey coach.
Yeah.
Been there, 10-year track. He's been there for a while, right? A lot of success, and just rolling around with the undies and bacon sandwich, watching Family Guy, crumbs going all over the place. That was great.
I want bacon.
So what was your first reaction like coming back to Halifax? Did you liking it? Like, did you go to the restaurants? Like, what was your first reaction of just being back in a hockey culture?
All I remembered about Halifax, just remembered the hills, because I was here in the Memorial Cup, right, 2000.
Yeah.
And the hills, man, it was a huge advantage to Halifax, because we're walking around. You had to, because we were downtown, everywhere down by the water there, where the Scotiabank Center, is that what it's called now? Scotiabank Center. They've changed it like 7 times in like 3 years or something like that. Right? But yeah, we just walked around everywhere, and our fucking shins were done.
Yeah,
Calves, it was, oh man, it was a battle. But I just remember coming here, and I was like, oh, this place is gonna be hilly as fuck, right? Yeah. But yeah, no, I got to move around. Steiny showed me around a little bit with some of the restaurants and that. And
did you have a car when you came back?
Nope. I lived Steiny. So it was just we lived down on South Street, right? So I walked into SMU and tagged along with him to practice and games and stuff like that. So, and I was kind of strapped too, right? Because I was on parole when I got here. So if I wanted to leave the HRM area, I needed, I can't remember what it's called, but I needed permission. So every time we had an away game, with the exception of Dal, one of the assistant coaches would have to go and get, from my parole officer, would have to get permission from me to travel outside of the HRM. So it was a shitload of stuff to go through. It was crazy.
Is that because of the nighttime cutoff? Is that why, like, obviously I wouldn't know how parole works, but like,
honestly,
I don't know about that.
No, I think it just had to do mostly with the fact that I had just gotten released. I had just gotten out of jail, and I was just basically re-entered in society, right? So they wanted to keep your eye on you, right? So
that's true.
I don't know the whole ins and outs about it, but I just know that any time that I wanted to leave, if I wanted to leave the province, if I had to leave the HRM area, I'd have to go get a little traveling certificate. Yeah. So just in case, like, the bus got pulled over and they're like, hey, who are you? Oh, you've been to the sin bin? Yeah. Where's your paperwork? Oh, you don't have it? Fucking see you later, right?
Did you have a cool probation officer?
I really did, and I'm not gonna say her name just for
probably a huge hockey fan.
She actually was. She was a pretty big hockey fan, and she wasn't from Nova Scotia, so that's about all I'll say about her. But she was really cool about things, and she was strict, like she had to be strict, but she was like, hey, like, don't fuck up. And once she realized that I wasn't the type that I was going to be, going out and drinking when I wasn't supposed to be drinking, and not trying to start fights at the bars and stuff like that, she was just more or less, okay, how you doing with school? What do you want to do, right? So I had a parole officer when I first got out in Toronto. Huge bitch. What? And she was just, she'd shoot me down with everything. I'd talk about hockey, and she's like, well, you gotta concentrate on something else other than hockey. Your hockey career's over. And I was like, well, fuck, who are you to say my hockey career is over?
Ever.
Well, you haven't skated for 6 years. And I'm like, fucking, she settle down, you know what I mean? So she was trying to, like, redirect me into getting into something else. And it's like, at that point, even when I went in at 24, right? So I'd been skating probably since I was like 5 or 6 or something. I've got 18, 19 years of experience. That's more than a fucking doctor or a lawyer, most of them in town, you know what I mean? Like, that's all I know. As a hockey player, you have just because you don't go to school for 4 or 8 or 12 years to get your master's, PhD and whatnot, you got a lot of hockey experience, you know what I mean? So to tell somebody that's got 18, 19 years invested that your career's over, I was like, fuck, you're dumb, man. It's just ridiculous. So
yeah, that's...
But anyway, so long story short, when I moved out here, obviously moving provinces, you get a different parole officer, and I had a beauty. Yeah.
Unreal.
It was awesome.
Good luck out on that.
Oh yeah.
I feel like there's no gray area in that scenario. It's, they're either awesome or they're just, ridiculous. Right? There's no like, oh, she was all right or he was all right. It was like beauty or bitch.
Yeah. Well, I was one of the conditions was I wasn't allowed to drink while I was on parole, right?
That's rough.
The only thing
so we obviously
boys.
Was that
the only thing I know about parole is Trailer Park Boys?
Yeah.
Can't drink. Yeah.
Right. So they obviously when we won nationals, we were in, I think it was Thunder Bay that year. I think we were in, and then I got a call from my parole officer right after the game, and hey, congratulations, really happy for you. Make sure you don't fucking drink.
I thought it would have been the opposite.
I'm piss testing you when you come back. And I was like, just a little bit. She's like, don't fuck this up. So no, I didn't, and that was it. So, but it was fun, right? Like I'd go to the bar, and the boys were really good about it too, right? So they'd order some shots or whatever, and I'd always have my little shot glass of water with a little lemon
to make you feel included.
Yeah, just to make you feel included, right? And it was pretty fun too.
You're not
right?
the only guy standing there.
And then when we won the cup, all the boys were drinking their beers, and I had my little sparkling fruit juice, right? So I popped it open. Yeah, it was all right. It was fun. It was good.
No, you go.
Okay, I was just gonna say, to be fair, up until that point, you, like you said, you had a lot of hockey experience. When they were trying to tell you that your career was over, they're telling you can't drink this one night, but up until that point, I'm sure you've had your fair share of drinking experiences, right?
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? So you're like, okay, this sucks, but it's like,
he's got kids now, man. What are you doing to him?
What do you mean?
I'm joking. Go ahead.
They're hockey players already, man.
They're my middle guy. Oh fuck, he's a menace. Jesus.
So you have 3.
I got 3. Yeah.
So
one just out of the oven, just a wee one. Little
just
girl.
out of the oven.
All you hockey players out there, you go near her, I'm telling you, I'm going back to jail.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to be coming after your daughter specifically.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's why I had the 2 older ones first, right? The 2 boys taking.
That's why you let off with the parole thing.
Yeah. I love
like, oh shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I want to talk about going on parole, just coming out of jail in general. Talk about like a support system, just going into a fucking hockey team. When you come out, you have support around, you got family, friends,
right.
But going into a hockey team with 25 guys, when does that happen?
Yeah, and
I don't think that's ever happened.
No.
Well, see, and it was a little different, right? Like, I don't know if too many people know the situation that I got into when I was here, right? So how it all started off with me coming to CIS was the coach from PI, Forbes McPherson. Okay. He called me and asked me if I had any interest, right? So of course, I thought I was too old in that. So I looked into it, and I think at the time UNB was 14-0, Acadia was 12-2. I think St. Mary's was like 11-3, something like that, right?
That
Not much has changed.
Yeah, pretty much, right? So what I wanted to do is I the way I looked at it was, well, I'm not going to call UNB. They're perfect. They got a pretty good squad. I want to see if I can help somebody, right? So I called Acadia, and then Burnsy kind of said, yeah, we'd love to have you. However, why don't you call Steiny? Because I think the type of guy that you are and your background would be best suited for Steiny and St. Mary's. So I called Steiny.
Wow.
And when I talked to Steiny, he's basically, let me talk to the guys. And back then, we had guys like Ranny and Thordy, Fergie, guys like that, Chris Morrison, and a lot of older guys that, Hotham and that pretty much ran the team, right? So it wasn't the fact that it wasn't only me coming to a hockey team as my main support. It was the fact that the hockey team themselves, they wanted me to come, right? They're the ones who wrote the letter to I think the time the dean was Dodds, the president, or whatever it was. For me, it was Dodds or Colin Dodds, I think it was.
I don't know anything about university.
But it was it was all about the guys, right? They really, especially Ranny, they reached out and they basically wrote a letter to Steiny saying, like, if we don't let this guy come, then who are we? Like you're giving us you put us in a situation to get education and play hockey, second chances at careers. If we don't give this guy a second chance at his life, then what are we doing here, type of thing, right? So it was very welcoming once I read the letter and Steiny told me the story. It was more, like you said, right? It's the main support system was the team, but it was actually the players themselves that wanted me to get in there, right?
That's unreal.
It was pretty cool.
I felt that story for sure. And I think the one thing I think about you coming in, instead of you thinking, I hope these guys like me,
right? You're
going in with the mindset now of, these guys are beauties, these guys are my brothers, right. This is going to be easy, right? Now you're back doing the thing that you love to do, and it's just natural to you then, right?
Yeah.
So I remember the press conference you had there with the whole, the one I'm talking about.
Yep.
And you said
the one I looked like 140 pounds.
Sure, there you go. And you said, sorry, I just got back from class, I'm not going to wear a suit, yada, yada, yada. Right. When you were in that class, you knew that you had the press conference right after, right? Yep. So when you were in that class, were you able to pay attention, or was your mind spinning?
No, I've never been the type to, like, when I'm doing interviews and stuff like that, like I had a couple of buddies message me today, what are you going to say? And I'm like, fuck, I don't know. Just wait and see what the questions are. Like, what do you got anything written down? I was like, well, if I don't know the questions, what am I going to have written down? You know what I mean? It's like
trying to take the test before.
You know what, right? Yeah. But I've never been the type to, like, even when I like speak at functions or team events and stuff like that, I never have that speech ready. I just kind of roll with it. And
why do you think that is?
I don't know. I just take life as it comes. You know what I mean? I've never been the type to plan my life out clearly. I did a pretty piss poor job at it, right?
Clearly.
But no, I think that especially with athletes, I don't know about football, baseball, and basketball. With hockey players, especially coming from Toronto, you're engorged in the media there at such a young age. Kids are doing interviews at 12, 13, 14 years old.
It's hard, man.
Junior hockey, you're having 2-3 games a week doing interviews, on video and on paper. And I've done thousands of interviews in my life. It's just I haven't been hit with a question yet that it's kind of stunned me and been like, oh, I don't know what to say, or that's made me uncomfortable, right? So I just kind of roll with shit and let it play on.
I think that has a lot to do with hockey itself, though, your personality, right? Because I consider myself to be the same type of person. I've yet to have a question where I'm like, unless it's like in school right now and I actually don't know, I'm not going to bullshit it, right? But it's just like your personality. It's like you don't care if what you say is wrong anyways, right? You're going to interact regardless.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that you can thank the sport as a whole for that.
Yeah.
Hockey
and you can thank your mom for the coffee too. It's bomb.
I'll let her know. She'll probably want to talk to you after.
That's
just shake
awesome.
your hand or something.
Sweet.
I want to talk about the first NHL game. Or do you think it's too early to jump into that?
No, man.
Might as well. Brought it up,
buddy. Ping
Might
pong.
as well.
All right, first NHL game. Let's go. Pre-game nap, meal, nerves. Are you calm? Where was it? Let's go. Let's get into it.
So, man, this is a pretty cool story.
Love it.
So I was in Albany and I got the call. We had just got in from a road game. It was in February. I'm pretty sure it was like February 21st or 23rd or something like that. I got called up. So my first year pro, I went to Albany, and about halfway through the year, it's been snowing for days in Albany. Shithole.
Where's Albany? I'm sorry.
Albany's upstate New York.
Upstate New York.
Upstate New York. Yeah. It's
like here.
Awful place, man. Jesus. So I get a buzz in my apartment, and I'm like, it's like 2 a.m, and I was like, is it like a booty call or something like that, right? I have no idea what's going on because I was a disaster for the early part of that season. Yeah. And so I answered the buzzer and I was like, hello, and it was my equipment guy. He's like, yeah. He kept on because it was windy, it was snowing, I couldn't really hear him. All I could make out was Jason, scratch, this and that. So I was like, hey, hold on, I'll come down. So I go down the stairs and he's like, pack your bags. What's up?
He came to your apartment?
Oh, he came to my apartment.
Sorry, yeah. He called you.
Man, this is back. Man, you didn't have cell phones back then.
Call on the PA, bro.
Yeah, he FaceTimed you.
Yeah. This was like 20 years ago, right? Almost. Jesus Christ. I think this is like 2000. This happened in 2000, right?
Wow.
Early 2001, actually. Sorry.
You were such a bitch back then too. So.
Are you guys even born?
I was in recess. When I think of 2000, 2001, I think of September 11th. So I just know what I was doing around that.
I think of the year we hosted Mem Cup.
Yeah.
That was the year before. That was 2000, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, long story short, I go downstairs and he's like, listen, it's like 2:30 in the morning, right? He's like, listen, you got to pack your shit. You got called up to Jersey. And I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah, okay. Be right there, right? So I run up, and I was just down the street from the arena. So I go up, I pack a bag or whatever, and pack my stuff. He brings us to the arena. So it was me and a guy by the name of Stanislav Gron.
What a name.
Who got, right? Beauty. A guy had flow like for days too.
Unreal.
So he was like a Slovak or Czech, but his flow, he looked like Yager back when he was 19, right?
Weapon.
So, right. And anyways, we go to the airport, we get into Carolina. So my first game was in Carolina. Right.
Okay, so where do you meet the team, at the airport, or do you meet them
at the hotel? So we fly in to Carolina because I had to fly from New York to somewhere else, Albany to somewhere else, into Raleigh, North Carolina, or whatever.
But
right?
you fly in by yourself, so you meet them at the hotel in Carolina.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So spent the night. Yeah. So I get woken up 2:30 in the morning. Maybe get to the airport 3:30. Flights 5, whatever it is. I can't remember, but I can't sleep from 2:30 in the morning. I'm wired, right? So show up to the hotel, and there's a team meeting going on, right? Yeah. So we go right. We're already late for the meeting, so we kind of roll in. We sit in the back, and we're listening to the coach talk. And GM at the time, or GM was Lou Lamoriello.
Household name.
Lamoriello. So after the meeting, I'm walking out, and I kind of get like a tug on my arm, and it's Lou, and waves me over, and he's like, oh, how was the flight? And it was good. And he goes, have you eaten yet? I was like, no. And he's like, okay, well, we're gonna go have a meal now. And pulls out his wallet. He's like, after the meal, go get a haircut. Hands me a $20 bill. Wants me to go get a haircut. And back then I had sick flow, obviously. I was that guy who had the sick flow, right? I love the hockey hair, right? So
stash.
No porn stash. No, I was solid with that. So I kind of looked at him, and I was like, okay, whatever. So I take the 20, put it in my wallet, go have a meal, and I crash hard. I was like, I'm not getting a fucking haircut, fuck that. So then we go to the game, and this was so messed up. So like back then, Lou's notorious for like, you can't have high numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think the last guy that had a high number was McGildy, and I think the only reason why McGildy, because maybe they just didn't understand each other or whatever.
Probably part of his clause to come over.
Right, exactly.
89, right? He's all.
That's right? Like, and then Lou's got like some special rules about stuff like
beards,
that, right?
No high numbers. Remember I told you the Leafs they're now allowed to have high numbers?
Oh, yeah,
that's why fucking Ozaganov's wearing 92.
Yeah, wow. And you couldn't have like white tape over red or black. You couldn't use clear tape. You had to use like white tape over white spots, black tape over black spots. But it was, and no shaving. You couldn't wear chains or necklaces. It was just very, unless you were Jason Arnott or Patrick Elias or Martin Brodeur, you could do whatever you want, right? But it was just more or less where he got you in the mindset that this is professional. It's his way or the highway. And I wasn't mature enough. I wasn't ready for that back then, right? I was just like, well, no, fuck you. It's my way or the highway, right? So like I'm the team, not you, Lou. Settle down, right? Right?
There's an eye in Mike.
Be careful, because in 4 years you might fuck. No, seriously though. So anyways, I crashed hard. We woke up and had a little meal or whatever, and then we went to the rink. So I get to the rink, and I didn't know what number I was going to be, right? Because in Albany, I was 18, I think, which I've never worn that in my life. In training camp, one year I was like 36, so I was 54, 50, so just awful numbers, right? So I see one stats sheet, and it has me down. I can't remember the numbers because the guys. I looked at 3 different stats sheets, and one of them had me down as like 22, and then another one had me down as 26, another one had me down as 28. So I had no idea what number I was wearing, right? Because I just had different numbers, right? And I ended up wearing number 8. So the number, my jersey came into the room, and because it came in late, they were stitching my name on, and I had an awful last name back then, so I'm not even gonna say it. But they had the stitch line, name was like 97 characters long, and just number 8, right? And I was like, oh, that's dust, right? So anyway, so the whole game, like guys are just like, or the whole pregame, sitting in my stall, and so I got to play center with Jim McKenzie.
Yeah.
Right? Guy's 6'5", like 240. Mitts just like this. Like huge mitts, right?
Fitting, right?
And like just a big man everywhere. Guy was a giant, right?
Everywhere.
Right, everywhere. And then Turner Stevenson, like 6'4", 225. Another guy that was just
Turner
a monster.
Stevenson, that's a name.
Remember Turner?
Heard. Dude, he was Turner? A monster.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm stewing, right? Everyone thinks that I'm nervous. They're like, hey, you're gonna be okay. And I'm like, no, I know, I'm good.
I know.
I'm just getting jacked, right? Because I'm sitting here going, I'm gonna be able to do whatever the fuck I want tonight, because I got 2 monsters playing on my wing.
Safety.
No one's gonna touch me. We're playing Carolina, who was probably the softest team in the world back then, right?
They're the king of the trap in that era.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah, right. So I'm going around in warm up, and I got so excited when I was
helmet on or off warm up.
What's that?
Helmet on or off?
Oh, it was on. It was on back then because Lou probably would have sniped me from the stands if I had it off.
Especially with no haircut.
Right. That was a good one. I like how you rolled in. That was solid. Yeah, that was good. Right? So, but I'm sure Lou knew at that point, right, that he just lost $20 to a little rookie, right? So, and then he never got it back, right? But he did get the last laugh, right? But anyways, I'm wheeling around and I'm so happy and I'm overjoyed. I start crying and then like my excitedness starts like, oh my, what the fuck you doing? It's smarten up, Jesus Christ, right? So I'm skating around. I'm doing that. So anyways, my first shift, I get out there and my first shift and I just completely forgot about hockey, right? I just got out there and I'm hitting everything. It's like I'm a fucking pinball.
Thank you.
Smashing, playing against like Rod Brindamore, right? That's the name that I remember from Carolina. Just a monster,
Jeff
right?
O'Neill
Probably, yeah. I don't remember a lot of that, right? So
Ron Francis.
Yeah.
Ronnie Francis, right? So, but I'm just crushing these guys. I'm smashed. So anyways, my first shift, it's like a neutral zone, goes into the defensive zone, goes down to the offensive zone, and the goalie they had was Arturs Urbe. Remember him? Oh
yeah, his gross Bucky and his
great name though, right?
Fantastic.
Right? So we go down and I crash the net. I end up snowing them, fall into them, and when I get up, there's a huge skirmish. When I get up, I get cross-checked, and I just say, fuck it. First, gloves, I throw my gloves off, I turn around and grab whoever it was. I had no idea. I was just like, no one's cross-checking me. I'm fuck you up. I turn around. It's Glenn Wesley. This guy's like 97.
Yeah,
I speed bagged this guy. Just he might have had 2 career fights in his 20-year career, and he cross-checked a rookie that was trying to make a name for himself, and I just speed bagged this guy. So I went to the penalty box and I came back, and I remember Jim McKenzie saying, well, you could have picked someone a little bit tougher. I was like, well, fuck, I didn't have eyes in the back of my head, right? But anyways, yeah, so I might have had like 3 more shifts that game, but it was fun. That was my first one, yeah. So
man, you're a good storyteller. Like you could paint a picture.
Man, that's my problem. Is I even if he didn't paint the picture, I was painting it anyways.
Oh yeah.
And that's the problem with me. I'm sitting over here. Glenn Wesley was like the fucking Lady Bing winner. Yeah. He's like Datsu.
He might have had like 6.5 penalty minutes every year. Like he was 10 ply. This guy. It was
like, what the fuck happened to me, man?
Yeah, and I felt so. I guess I didn't feel bad. I was just like, well, I would have been nice to kind of fight Rod Brindamore at the time or something like that. But anyways,
on that note, and I'm gonna go right into like the actual seriousness of hockey at your size.
Yeah.
At that point in that era of the NHL, which is now, and I quote Torts here, not the hug fest. Back then,
because you got to be careful what you say in 2018.
That's right, exactly.
Fuck it, we got great lawyers.
No, I know, we're just joking around. But
where were they when back in 2004? I could have used that.
I don't think you'd want ours. What was I gonna say? Oh, you basically had to be like that. It's like when people bitch about Marchand being a rat and greasy. I'm like, in order to survive at this size, you have to A, be a great skater, an above average skater, and B, you have to be able to fucking protect yourself. You have to have that edge, and you have to make sure that when people come near you, they're not going to take advantage of you.
Right.
So in that moment, it's
when
funny. You said it, I was like, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Like the guys like the Johnny Gaudreaus and they're super skilled guys, right? Like you think about it, right? Martin St. Louis. I went to Calgary's camp before I was drafted, right? Just for some experience. And I had a great camp. They offered me a contract, which subsequently I would have had more money that I'd actually signed in New Jersey. That was kind of fucked up. But anyways,
they were the Cup champions the year before that, though, too. So
were they? Yeah, Calgary.
The year before you got New Jersey.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But New Jersey with Lou has always been notorious for, not giving their draft picks a lot of signing bonus money, right? So salary would have been fine, but just the signing bonus money, right? That I would have made more than double in Calgary as a non-drafted guy than I did as a 5th round draft pick in New Jersey.
I wonder if that's anything to do why they got him out of Toronto, because there are a lot of rookie or a lot of young guys are going to be getting paid soon in Toronto, and I wonder if the owner was like, all right, we got to get Lou out of here, or is that my just reaching here?
In my mind, they get rid of Lou.
I think so, a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's being a Leafs fan and whatnot.
Lou, Jesus Christ.
I'm a good Leafs fan, buddy. I'm not going to sit here and be like, but I just think the culture in Toronto now is like, it's so young based. These kids are playing fucking Fortnite on their free time. Like, think about that. So with Lou's veteran status. You can't grow beards, with half them can anyways. But like, he's trying to make them professional, right? So like, the NHL is mostly powered by young kids these days, man. It's not the grizzled fucking veterans anymore.
You got a point.
It's a different culture, right?
You got a point there, because if you look at Lou's teams, especially in Jersey, like look at the guys he had there for a long time, like Brodeur, Holik, Arnott, Randy McKay, Ken Danico. He's always had veteran teams,
presence,
right?
Man.
Huge, right? And which they were back then. They were all older guys from an older system that bought in because they knew Lou was a successful guy, right? Yeah. And they were accustomed to Lou's way or the highway, right? And all these young guys, like look at me, I was fucking 20 years old, and I was keeping his $20 from his haircut, and 2.5 years later, I wanted to trade. He was like, yeah, you want to trade? All right, well, it's not on your time, fuck you, see you later. And he made me wait 3/4 of a year. I got drafted after the season.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it's just, and he made a stance on that, right? Like and that's why he's respected, and that's why he's successful, because he does what he does, right? And
he always has, and it's proven. It's in the numbers, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So my point for Toronto was, now like the NHL's young powered. All the NHL superstars are fucking young, right? Yeah. So now if you have him who thinks like that's like Jimbo, right? Mm. His style of coaching for us was crash bodies. We had 4 fighters. Our fourth line was, I was on it, but I'd like to say like crash and bang, right? But I was in his scenario. I had the 2 big wingers that I could just do whatever the fuck I wanted. Right. But his era of coaching was just gone at that time. It was starting to come in. You couldn't fight. It was all puck possession and special teams, and he was trying to implement these systems on us. And I just think that they might have parted ways in Toronto, like because of that.
I remember, like, now the NHL is so young. I remember Lucic one year just being so dominant, and then the next year just another guy. And I think that year for the World Cup in Toronto, remember, like the young guns, I think that was the pivot to the new NHL. When seeing McDavid just fly by the Sedins through the neutral zone in one fucking stride, you're just like, this is the new NHL. And I just remember it was just kind of flipped on
guys
its head.
cut through like Korea and they don't get hit.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about Stevens, because you played with him a bit. I heard rumors that like when he used to come to practice, he used to, like, before he would go wake up early, go hunting, and like catch a deer, put it on his truck, and like go to practice. And like, I've heard you say this. I've heard on the podcast. Did you? I've heard you say. Yeah. Did anything like that happen?
Stevens, he was a huge hunter, huge fisherman, huge hunter, right? So he did that stuff. I don't remember him, bringing in a fucking moose on the back of his Jimmy, right? So, but he did, like, he would leave practice and he would go hunting. Like when we had our little retreats and our getaways, you could either choose between going golfing or going fishing. He'd go fishing every single time, right? He was that guy.
Man's man.
But he was a monster. He was, I think, 40-41 the last time I played, and he was like, he had like 13 and a half abs. Like, he was unbelievable, like how well this guy took care of himself at 40 plus. And he'd be one of the first guys on the ice, one of the last guys off the ice, still at 40, and he'd be crushing weights, he'd be eating properly, he wouldn't be out boozing all the time, and you saw how he played, right? He was ferocious. He was an animal, right? So
he couldn't play today. What are you like?
He's an animal. Like, when I think Scott Stevens, I get scared. And I've never even seen the guy other than on my screen. I think of Stone Cold Steve Austin for some reason. Every time I think of Scott Stevens.
I remember this highlight that whenever they show about old time hockey's highlights, when Stevens is crushing guys, he's on the bench looking over the other bench and going like this, and those killer eyes just lighten up, and it just every time I see it, it's like, oh, glad I played with him, right? Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
So what's it like in practice against a guy like that? Like Stevens, you got like guys like even Ken Danco, if you were there when he was there, those guys were like grizzled veteran, intimidating presence.
They're hard, man. They're hard.
Do they practice as hard? Like people always say they practice as hard as they can.
You could not score on Marty Brodeur in practice.
Really?
If you scored on Marty Brodeur in practice, he'd fucking snap. And if you shot a puck into his net, like if he's focusing on a 2-on-1, you're over at the side and you drift the puck in his net, it's going off your head.
Goalies hate that shit.
Yeah, especially him, right? But
they're a weird bunch, but it separates them now.
He was so competitive in practice. Like, how he played was exactly how he practiced, full out. And that's just, and I don't know if that was maybe the way that Lou's teams did it, or is just that the older guys used to do it. You know what I mean? And it's just that's just how they were. St. Louis was a little bit different, but guys were still good guys there, right? So
I find the game back then too is like, how you see that commercial now, they're like, what, you don't carb up anymore? I feel like today's game, like if you're the most skilled player in the world, but you're the softest, you still have a chance to make it. Back then, it was a different game. Like those guys grew up being grinders and having to fucking battle for everything, not being the most skilled guys. Because even for the whole like first little bit of the NHL's history, there was skilled guys, but they were very few and far between.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's what I was going to say about Marty St. Louis, right? And I went off on a tangent. My ADD kicked in. Sorry. He was with Calgary. And he was in the minors, and they ended up. He couldn't make Calgary. Goes to Tampa Bay next year, wins the scoring title. Yeah, and then how does that happen?
Ends up winning a cup. Yeah, perseverance, man. It's mental toughness.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. Yeah, it's mental toughness, right? But at the same time, like kind of what I'm getting at is that back then, some of these guys that are really good players now, they wouldn't have been able to stick around back then. Like I remember there was a lot of good skilled guys that I played with junior that I thought were pretty good players. They just couldn't make it. They couldn't do it. There's a lot of guys that were career American League players, scoring 50 goals a year, 40 goals a year. They just couldn't make the jump because you get that hit, you're a little bit afraid to go in the corner, and teams saw that and they were like, hey, we can't use you, man. In the playoffs, you're going to be a detriment for us, right?
Think about the A back and then compared to now.
Yeah, be like just the junior B league around here in comparison. Yeah, just fighting for everything. But that was our point, I guess. Basically, was you had to fight. Yeah. Like you think Scott Stevens got by on skill? No. You know what I mean? Do you think like nobody did back then? Like even think about Gretzky. He played in a tough ass era. He had protectors.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
But like he would in today's game. Yeah. I think he would dominate. I know, and I get pissed off when people try and compare eras. Yeah. But he sparked me when he said like some guys wouldn't last back then, and that's for a guy like you to come up in that era as a smaller guy. It's almost unheard of.
You had to though, right? And that's where I remember the people in my corner were saying like, listen, like you gotta fight anybody and everybody. You get the opportunity. I remember the biggest shit kicking I took was a guy from Edmonton named Scott. You probably wouldn't even know him. Scott Ferguson. Guy was like 6'5", like 245, just a monster. And I had a rule where if we were down 2 goals, I'd fight. And just as soon as we hit 2-0, 3-1, whatever, I'd be like, okay, I gotta go spark the team. I gotta do something. Yeah. And I was in Jersey, and I was skating up the ice, and this guy looked big. Hadn't really heard of him. Slashed him in the back of the leg. Turned around, just dummied me. The side of my face, side of my head, back of my head was just. I looked like I was a cone head out the side of my head. He just beat the piss out of me, and just like, well, you had to do it right back then. You know what I mean? It's just that was just a part of hockey.
There's nothing like that now.
Yeah, and today's, you know what I mean?
Not really. No. You go watch. I know this would be tough to do, but go watch a greasy game. If you're at a greasy game, watch the bench. See if the coach in the queue anything taps a guy on the shoulder and says. It doesn't happen
because social media is going to blow that shit out of proportion, and mommy and daddy of little Jimmy are going to be upset because you told his son. Like, it's a fucking joke these days.
It is. I just remembered one of your tweets too.
Which one?
The one about only in 2018 do we not give captains because we don't want to hurt people's feelings.
And then some troller was like, smarten up or something. It didn't happen. He's trying to justify. Well, why else would you not give Austin Matthews the captain then?
Either one. Or
Tavares, or why not?
Because you're trying not to hurt the other guy's feelings.
Fucking right, and it's a joke. You know what? Like, hey, which guy is a better? In my opinion, it should have been Tavares. And I hate the Leafs. I really don't give a shit if they have.
In my opinion, it's Riley.
Oh, okay. Well, that's there fair. You go.
But you know what I mean? But
if you're going to give it to one guy, if you're going to give it to somebody, then give it to somebody. Don't have like 19 assistant captains. It's a joke.
You shouldn't even give a shit, man. Like, as a player, like, I know there's some guys that like want to be the captain, but I feel like when you're at the pro level, obviously in Toronto, it's a big market. If you're Tavares, you're the face of the goddamn franchise anyways.
Who wants to be the captain in Toronto, though?
That's what I mean.
Oh, fuck. The shit you're going to have to deal with.
Come on.
All right.
Anyways.
But yeah, so.
I want to jump back to Smew a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself in a leadership role as soon as you jumped in that room? Because your resume, you had a great hockey resume when you went into that room at St. Mary's. Or did it take a month, 2-3 months in order for you to gain the respect of your teammates? You know what I'm trying to say here?
I know. You know what? I don't know. You'd have to ask some of the guys, really. I don't know. So to kind of to let the light in on this subject a little bit was that when I was even playing the NHL, I really didn't like hockey that much. I was forced to play at such a young age, and I'd score a goal, I'd get the shit kicked out of me because I didn't score 3. If I scored 3, I got the shit kicked out of me. I didn't score enough. You know what I mean? So I was forced to play, and it made me resent hockey, right? It was eventually I became pretty good at it, right? So then it was just like a job that you're stuck in, you know, making good money. Like, well, fuck, why would I want to go
just to
make pizzas?
Get them to shut up?
Yeah, like, why would I want to go learn how to make pizzas? And you know, when I can do this and make a lot of money, I guess I'm pretty good at it, right? So, but yeah, so I really didn't like hockey that much. When I came back after, you know, the old, you know, you don't know what you got till it's gone, right? So I was away for almost 6 years from it, and I realized, okay, like I like this shit. Like this is part of me, right? So the one thing that I told myself that I would do is when I come back and play, I'm gonna have fun, you know, because I was so focused, and you know, I never had any girlfriends, and I didn't do any off ice stupid shit. It was just hockey,
it's your whole life,
training, and I think that's a big reason why at 5'8.5", you know, 190 pounds, that I made the NHL in the era back then, right?
That fire that you had in you.
Yeah, right. So it was just more. I was more focused on everything. So, but what I did when I came to SMU, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna have fun with it this time. And then when I went to Europe, I was like, I'm gonna continue this. I liked it. I had fun with it. And usually, if you like something, you're having fun with it, you're gonna do well at it, right? So I think what I tried to do with SMU was I tried to be like, and I used my background, right? Like I made a lot of like prison jokes and stuff like that in the shower and stuff, you know. And it kind of like,
if there's ever a place to go from your scenario into a society, it's a hockey team, because those guys automatically, and it's gonna sound fucked, but that's fucked. Beauty, you know what I mean? Like we're like, this guy's badass. It's not the beauty, but it's just like, this guy's badass. Like now we have something to joke about. He's light about it. Now we're good. Instead of them being like, fuck, what, like kind of like we were at the beginning. That's like, what can we say? What, you know what I mean? It's like, but no, you come in and you're making jokes like that. The first couple times, people are probably like,
exactly, and that's what happened. Like I'd say things at school. And this story, man, there's been like, you know, Yas Dons or something like that. Somebody like that. He's heard all the stories too, right? Like we'd be sitting down in the library and somebody do something, and I'd be like, hey, fuck, careful, I got my cell phone with me. They're looking at me going like, they're looking at me like wide eyes, like, is he serious or like? And I'm like, I'm just fucking with you. Okay, all right, you know. But is he fucking with me? Yeah. And then I watch him walking away, and I'm like, just staring at him, like, motherfucker, I got you, right? No, seriously. But it took a while for the guys to kind of like figure out the type of guy I was. But at every opportunity I could, I'd make a joke about it, right? But I think what ended up happening, especially with SMU, is that I think the biggest advantage that I brought to that team was the fact that me and my story took away from everybody else, the Rancourts, the Ferguses, the Thorntons, you know, and what it did, and the Hothams and the Conways and that, and the Vergies, and what it did was that instead of a team focusing on, you know, the power play with Randy and Thordy and Fergie, they're more or less worried about, oh, okay, well, this guy here from the whole, every time we played somebody, the story of me and my background, and, oh, what's he going to do tonight? Is he going to fucking come out and spear somebody? Is he going to do this? That's more or less on their heads, and they let the other players go around and run. And I've talked to a couple coaches.
Shit. You're creating space without even actually playing the game,
right?
Like you were at that point.
Imagine that. Look at that.
That's crazy.
That's insane. I'm creative.
Sorry to interrupt, but it just hit me.
I'm creative. I don't like your hat, by the way. I'm a diehard Cardinals fan.
I'm just a Pedroia fan. I'm giving him the kudos at the end of his career.
Oh, that's fucking bullshit. Anyways, Jays suck too. That's okay though. You guys,
what do you wear?
That's his life. So it looks like.
No, right? It's my life. Jagged dream. Yeah. So can I get a quick? Talk about that real quick. We'll come back.
Give me some money after, but yeah, sure.
I got you. So I was watching the Moncton Bathurst game on the weekend.
TV?
No, I drove to Moncton.
How's the new rink, by the way?
Unbelievable.
That's all I need to hear. Continue.
Unbelievable. Looks a little too big. You know, like they could have put a couple more seats in there, you know, kind of, it's nice though. Okay. It's nice. Don't get me wrong. So anyways, I met with a kid from Bathurst before the game. His name's Ethan Crossman. And he started this clothing company, Jagged Journey. And what it is he's trying to say that, you know, that everybody's got a story. They got some adversity. Someone's got to, you know, you gotta conquer, you gotta beat something in life in order to be successful. You know, he talked to me personally personally about some of the hoops that he's had to jump through and some of the mountains he's had to climb. And he wanted to talk to me about, kind of like my journey and what I've had to go through. Okay. And, so I'm going to, talk with him a little bit, and he's going to put me on his website a little bit there and kind of just talk about some ups and downs that I've had to go through. But basically, he started this clothing company, just to honor those people that have had hardships and that have overcome them and have been successful. So I told him I'd wear his hat today and give it a little pipe.
He sounds like our kind of guy. That's kind of how we like to portray our guests. Yeah. You know what I mean? Is the success and the adversity. Because my example is always Nosy, our buddy, played in Europe and he played in Australia. And when you tell stories, it sounds fucking amazing. Right. But to get there, what did it take? Exactly. Financial burden, physical, mental, anything, right? So that's kind of like, so basically,
everybody's got a past, right? And that's kind of and we'll come back to the whole Smooth thing for sure. But everybody's got a past. And I saw, actually, my wife told me, somebody commented on your Instagram thing where it was like, oh, excited to have Mike Danton. Someone was like, is he bringing a hitman or something, right? Oh, man, and I chuckled, right? And she was like, fucking somebody 1966. He's old as nuts.
See, I was like your wife. That's what I was saying.
But you know what I mean? Like me, I don't give a shit, right?
I won't lie, I laughed.
I laughed too. I was like, it's not like I haven't heard that one before, right? I was going to
be able to tell you or not, but I laughed.
Oh, no, that's fine. It's I had a chuckle too, right? Like, careful though. You didn't laugh too hard, did you?
No.
Okay, good.
I was in my bed trying to think.
It was an LOL.
You know what I mean, though? But that's the thing, right? Like clowns like that, though. Their adversity, their skeletons, they haven't been publicized, right? Nobody knows. I'm not going to say who knows what the guy's been through, right? But everyone's got a skeleton. Everyone's got something they don't want somebody to hear. It's just mine's a really big one, and everybody knows about it, right? So when people usually chirp me about stuff like that, and it's the same thing all the time. Oh, are you gonna fucking hire someone to kill him? Like, but that's like 94 years ago. That was funny.
I'll just do it myself now.
And that's what I usually say, right? I say, no, I learned from my lesson. I'll do it myself, right? They look at me and they look at me like,
oh shit, whoa. Oh shit, that's for real.
Yeah. He's not joking. He's not laughing. Shit.
What do I do?
So you'd never reply to that? Like, you saw it. Did it cross your mind to say something?
That's what he wants. The guy's trolling, right? He wants a little bit of feedback. And these guys on Twitter, like, I'll write something out there and they'll be like, oh yeah, like fucking some guy said stay in your I said something. I think it was that Maple Leaf, the captain or the assistant thing there. And the guy said to me, he goes, why don't you stay in your lane? And I was actually driving up to Fredericton at that time, and I said, well, but I'd comment about, I was like, I'd stay in my lane if you stop blowing up my Twitter feed. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, leave me alone. But what are you gonna say to these guys? Like, they want a reaction.
Like, that guy would never comment. It's because he's a household name, I guess, if you will. So that guy's like, oh, I'm gonna chirp, start a fucking uproar. Now I'm gonna be the man, and everyone's gonna follow me. Guy gets a couple followers,
right? Yeah. Like, that's the problem with society too, right? Like, oh, like my picture, follow me, do this, man. Just be yourself, and you don't need fucking shit like this, right?
At the same time, I was like, you know what? A little controversy never hurt. Maybe the news catches a hold of this.
There you go.
Like I'm saying, if it's not hurting me, if it's not hurting your feelings, I don't care.
I don't. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's a lot of trolls out there. It doesn't bother me. But getting back to the Smooth thing, I think that was a big part of it. You know what I mean? I think my whole story, my background, fueled the team in more ways than one. I think it kind of brought the team together. They wanted to and I think that everybody wanted to win, but I think my story was a little uplifting. So they wanted to win for them. They wanted to win for me, and it was kind of like you know what, we brought this guy in. Fuck everybody else. Yeah. We're gonna do this, and the other teams were concentrated on me and all the bullshit, because you can't say that when you played us, UNB, X in the playoffs over in Thunder Bay, all those teams, you can't say that none of those guys on any of the opposing teams didn't think about me or my story before the game. Their head was completely off in the clouds, and it allowed our top players to win games for us, right?
Do you think that you're disciplined in that 2 seasons? You're on parole, you're not drinking, right? You're focused on studying. Do you think that had an effect on the other players on the team?
I don't know. I think university hockey is a little different, right? Because I think the majority of the guys, when they get here, they kind of pack it in.
But that was a mature team.
It was a mature team. It was a mature team. So I'm not saying specifically about that team. I'm saying in general that the majority of guys, they pack it in. They come here. They keep playing because they want to play. Maybe they got a little glimmer of hope that they're going to go play, in Europe or pro. Because there were some guys that jumped from CIS to pro, right?
It's actually more common now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, because elite, it's good hockey, right? Real good hockey.
That's the best
hockey around.
For sure, 100%. So, but no. So it's I think that. I don't know. I wouldn't say that it had an impact on them because like you said, right? We had a really mature team. A lot of the guys are were in the MBA program. They're almost out the door, right? So I don't know. It was fun though. Hey, St. Mary's was a blast, right? And it still is. Right?
I remember your first game. Yeah. I was at the Forum when you scored. You batted the puck in front of the net. You got cleaned.
Yeah.
I've never been a part, and it's given me a weird feeling. I don't know if it's chills or what, but it was the most fucked up thing, man. There was people still screaming at you in hate. Oh, yeah. There were people crying because you had overcome this shit.
Right.
There were people cheering because they were just SMU fans, and there were people that just did not know how to react. And I was one of those people because I don't, at that point, Facebook wasn't really that big on me. I liked hockey. I just wanted to be at the rink.
Right.
And you get a little sniff of the story and you think that's cool. I didn't know how to react, but to look around and the place, you sold the place out on your own,
it was packed, man. It was
insane.
Packed. It was
how good did that feel then?
That was pretty cool.
That
was pretty cool.
Dude, that was a cool moment for me.
Pretty cool.
It was one of those I remember getting to the rink. For you.
I remember getting to the rink, and when I got to the rink, because Steiny had made it official that I was gonna play my first game. I think it was a Wednesday. I'm pretty sure it was a Wednesday game against Acadia.
Yeah, it was
and
the Forum,
when I got to the Forum, the lineup was already past the doors and around the side, so I had to walk through. And I remember there was a dude who was like, "Good luck tonight, Mike." And I was like, "Okay, thanks." Yeah.
Did anyone chirp you?
No. Well, they're probably afraid, right?
I heard
it was awful.
I heard some chirps. I remember you were wearing grizzled skates, and you were the only one wearing a 4000 for a helmet, the old just foam.
Oh yeah.
Inside,
when I was playing, the boys would chirp, especially what was that clown from Acadia, Graham? I actually headbutted him.
He's probably listening.
Probably. Well, yeah. He probably goes. Probably his comprehension is so low. He probably doesn't understand what's going on there. No, I remember he used to chirp me. He was sitting on the bench. It's pretty funny. A guy chirping me when he's on the bench. But anyways, he chirped me about my skates because I wore graphs, right? He's like, "Oh, when's the last time you had skates before prison? Or fucking buy those in fucking 2003, dance? What the fuck?" And what are you gonna say to a guy like that, right? His head's the size of 4 footballs, right?
I bet there's guys that whenever you played against them, if they're taking the bus to an away game or whatever, and they know they're playing against you, I bet there's guys at home that are thinking of chirps towards you. I guarantee it. See, this is one of the guys right here. I guarantee there's guys coming up with jokes.
It's easier now, man. You just go on someone's Facebook and then you got fucking material for the next 10 weeks.
Yeah. Right.
I had a great question. I forgot it though.
I'm going to touch on the SMU thing right quick while we're still there.
Okay, I got
you guys end up winning nationals.
Yep.
You say that kind of deferred everyone's attention away from them doing their thing and being successful because it was your story kind of thing.
Right.
But at the same time, they accepted you and made it so that you came. So at that point, any good team that wins says it's unity. It's a brotherhood.
Right.
So at that point, you're their little brother.
Right.
And now people are trying to ruin that.
Right.
So now they're going to do everything in their power to shut everybody up and win so that you guys all can just overcome this. You know what I mean? That's how the good teams get through.
Yep.
If you guys weren't brothers, you wouldn't have won.
Right.
No one would have gave a shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, you're right. And Steiny always used to say it too. He'd say listen, whether we win or lose, it's going to be Dance's fault. And that's the way that he looked at it, right? If we win, it's because Mike Dan came to the team. If we lost, it's because Mike Dan came to the team. He wasn't good enough, or he broke up the chemistry. Yeah, for sure, right?
Luckily, personality like you do, and that doesn't hurt you.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, I think he knew that too, right? Because after living with him and stuff, and I'm an older guy that not too much. I've had some pretty hardcore coaches, right? Like Pat Burns. I had Joel Quenville, right? So I had a couple junior coaches like Bert Templeton and Bill Stewart. I had a few coaches that were fucking fucking throwing garbage cans, sticks, and hitting players and shit. Like I grew up in an era it was just completely offside, right? Different. So not too much, like Steiny never said anything to me that kind of got me pissed off or anything like that. It's like, I've heard it before, man. Whatever. So
I want to talk about the academic side when you went to SMU and almost like the mental toughness. Like when you're on campus, you must feel the eyes. First day on campus, you must feel them
for sure. Yeah. Well, I've told stories before where I've walking through the atrium or the library or whatnot, and you have people, not just giving you the double look, but they're like 3 and 4 and then they're following you and they're, is that the guy? That's
and it's everyone.
And they're pointing, right? Yeah, but then
18-year-old girls. It's,
right? Yeah, well, that wasn't too bad back then. Profs too, right? Yeah. Profs too, right? But too, yeah, no. What I can say though is that after the first, I think it was like a 2-3 week period. Once I started and I'm a pretty social person. I met Don's at school, right? So, and Don's can attest to this, that, I was pretty social with the guys, the girls, the athletes, the first years, the fourth and fifth years. It really didn't matter. So I think after a couple weeks, when everybody realized, okay, this guy is not gonna punch somebody in the throat or stab them in the neck or something like that.
Yes, he's actually not who they portray.
Yeah, he's actually an okay guy, and he's actually pretty funny, and he chirps himself. So okay, I guess it's cool, right? And then I just became a normal dude there, right? The eyes kind of stopped, and it was more or less people talking and
don't you think that didn't have anything to do with hockey though as well?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Were you an academic guy before you went in the Clink, or when you came out? Because everyone's saying you had great grades.
I had phenomenal grades.
I just thought of myself selfishly. I was like, if I came out of that state and had to go to school,
it could be,
and knowing people were talking about me, thinking about me, I don't know. My head. I guess I was really young, 20 years old. How did you find that mental toughness just to say, okay, I'm focusing on school and hockey?
Well, I had to, right? So it's kind of I was in a little different situation, right? So I was an 18, 19 coming in there, right? So I was a little bit more mature, 29 coming to school.
Experiences.
Yeah, a couple more life experiences, right? But when I was in jail, I realized that I'm probably not gonna play hockey again.
Oh, really?
I thought that. I never knew when I was gonna get out. Right?
I feel like that place. If there's ever a place to be punched in the face with reality, it's in there.
Yeah, and that's what I had to do. Right? I had to grow up in there. Right? I'm sure we'll talk more about that. But what I had to do is that I had to realize that I possibly might not play hockey again. I need to do something. Right? So I started taking classes from Queen's University while I was in jail. So I'd already made it a focal point that I was going to take education on to the next level and try to figure out my life from there, right? So when I went to school, it was just when I came to SMU, I immersed myself in the education, right? Because one of Steiny's rules was that I wasn't able to practice or play until I got caught up. And I think that might even be like a university rule, like CIS rule or something like that. Like you can't be behind on grades or some shit like that, right? Yeah. So when I got there a little late. Maybe I think it was 2 or 3 weeks late, and I had to make up for lost time with regards to tests and stuff like that. So once I did, then I could start practicing with the team, and I was in atrocious shape, right? So. But anyways, beside the point, I made it a point that, okay, if this is what I'm going to do, I've always been the type where if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to pussyfoot around it. I'm just going to do it. So that's what I did. I went to school. Huh?
I'd have to agree.
Yeah. Right. So I did it and I did it really well. Right. So I focused on school, and what maybe a lot of people didn't know either too is that I did the majority, 75-80% of my schooling while I was playing hockey overseas, right? And while I was having a family, while I was living overseas. So I took all those classes online. When I came back, I'd have to take classes in the summertime, right? So, and I didn't get a scholarship. I paid for all my education myself, right? So I was the one that came here, and I had to pay for all my stuff too, right? So
that was... It's funny that you mentioned that, because when we originally pitched the idea of trying to get you on as a guest, we kind of talked about what we would talk about, and I know I said earlier to you that your story is your story. Most people know that, but it's being able to, I guess, bounce back from that, and that's the craziest part about it is. I knew you did your schooling because I read it somewhere, but to be able to do that, most people can't do school while they're there.
Right.
And for you to get out of that lifestyle where you easily could have just went south, right? You know what I mean? By being in there, right? You put yourself back into the schooling system, first of all, society, and then back into hockey, and you succeed at all these things. that, and then, but off the beginning, I think my point was off the beginning of all that is once you become a regular guy, it's no longer a second chance in those people's eyes. You're just you now. Right. So now yourself personally, the confidence must have been just, through the roof to go do this. Yeah, you can conquer anything, I guess. Right. Sorry, I was stumbling upon my words there, but.
Well, that's exactly what it is, right? And that's kind of what I've hit a few roadblocks even since I've been out, right? Just kind of, people not giving you an opportunity and, always, it doesn't matter how mentally strong you are, you know what I mean? You get kicked in the nuts enough times, then, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it, right?
That's
so.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's life, right? And it sucks, right? Like I've been going through, I went through something when my oldest started hockey last year. Some clown parent didn't like the fact that I was on the ice because I had, gone to jail, and I was like, well, fuck, I tried to have somebody killed. I didn't molest a kid or something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
big difference.
It's a huge difference, right? So the organization where my son's associated with, they had no problems with it. They said, hey, we know this and that, and right. So I had to jump through some hoops, which made the fact that I was coaching in Valley last year a little bit. I had to jump through hoops there too because I wasn't allowed to go on the bench or go on the ice there too, right? So this became like a 6 or 8 week ordeal that everybody had known what I did. Everybody had known my history,
but no one knew the good
yet just because of one set of parents at the IP level.
What does that mean, IP level?
5-year-olds.
Yeah, like
introduction. I think it's called introductory program, right?
Timbits anymore?
Well, that's Timbits. Yeah, well, it's not called Timbits. It's called IP, right?
They don't want to generalize the kids anymore.
Right, yeah. They might, right?
Timbits are kind of small.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's true, though, in 2018, though, right? No, but it's... They these parents they just didn't like the fact that I had a criminal record, and I had to go through my criminal checks and that. I don't have a criminal record in Canada. I don't. My criminal record's in the U.S. So when it came back clean, when it came back clean, they said, well, we know he's been in jail. Like, cool. Everybody knows that, and they're like, well, okay, we'll make him do an international criminal check, right? So then what ended up happening is that when they came to me and asked me that, I said, well, yeah, sure, I'll do that, no problem. But are you going to get the other 9 or 10 parents on the ice to do that? And the organization said, nice. Well, no, because like we don't know what they've done. And I said, what?
What does that mean?
Exactly my point. You know what I've done has nothing to do with kids, so you want me to do an international criminal check, but you don't know what the other parents have done. And they quickly were like, well, we know that you have done something, so we have to get this criminal check because it'll show your criminal background. And I said, it doesn't matter. Yes. You don't know if these other parents on the ice are child molesters or not. So they could have, had a sex crime in Venezuela or the United States. It's just the same, right? So if whatever you're going to get me to do, you're going to have to get them to do. So then they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to ruffle any feathers. So I had to jump through a couple little hoops. And anyways, it's just, but that's what I'm talking about, right? Like it's consistently, and and it's whenever something comes up in the media. This is why I've turned interviews like this down, and not just with you guys, but like Sports Illustrated and other stuff in the past. They just bring up a whole bunch of shit, like you said before, that's already been talked about. They focus on what happened. Well, fuck, let's find 100 people, dig through their closets, and let's talk about their skeletons for 25 years. I'm sure they're going to get kind of pissed off too, right? How about we talk about the stuff that's gone on after the fact that I've started a family, I had academic all Canadian, I graduated with honors from SMU, I'm doing my master's degree, I've been
run a hockey school,
you know what I mean, like run a hockey academy,
you're open about your issues and you overcome them. Like that's right.
And I'm a fucking beauty to begin with, right? So fucking Jesus,
you're not a mutant to quote you.
Right, exactly. You know what I mean? Though, but that's what I'm talking about, though, and that's the kind of stuff that and I hit it. I've hit it when I'm going to UNB. A couple weeks ago, there was some organizations or some teams that didn't want me, being their mental skills coach because of my past, and they didn't think that I was going to be a good fit.
But you're the most
dude. If you
appropriate to be the
right, and that's the thing, right? Like, hey, who would you want your kid to learn?
Someone who's
how to be successful and be mentally tough, and how to be, have their shit together on and off the ice, other than a guy that has played in the NHL, has gone to prison, has overcome all these obstacles, played hockey again at the professional level, got his education, got his shit together. Like, who else would you want to tell your kid,
thank you very much,
shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, and you should keep doing this?
So a hypothetical person or a real life?
Right.
Yeah. So I guess, and like I said to you before the podcast, man, like, obviously the story in my mind is obviously intriguing, but like who gives a shit? I was going to bring up you doing your online courses and getting your masters while you were playing hockey overseas.
Right.
Anybody who's listening right now that's either gone to university or played hockey overseas knows how much of a grind either one of those are on their own.
Oh yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
But I've had enough guests on here. Yeah. We've had enough guests on here that I can kind of.
And I did that while being married and having kids as well.
That's what I mean.
So it was, and not pumping my chest out, right? It's just everybody.
You should be proud to say that shit.
Oh, for sure, I'm proud, right? But everybody can deal with. Everybody has their amount of gusto they can deal with. You know what I mean? And I think I can deal with a hell of a lot of shit because not only did I, like you said, finish my education, have a family, played pro hockey, but then I've had to deal with all the negativity from that as well.
And that's
right?
not like I'm trying to make. It's like
yeah.
that you gotta just.
So that's why when you were telling the Valley story, it pissed me off because this is after all that.
Right.
So this is, and like you said, check everybody else. If you check me, I don't want to get into mine.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just because I know yours because you played in the NHL. That's literally.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much, you know what I mean?
But and I think you asked me earlier on like how do you deal with it? And like honestly, I just don't give a fuck. Yeah. I don't care. You're gonna say something about me.
Have you read that book?
I don't give a shit.
The Art of Not Giving a Fuck?
No.
He wrote it.
I was gonna say. Yeah.
But I don't though, right? And like my wife says to me sometimes, she's like how does this not get to you? I'm like, who's the guy that said it? She's like, I don't know. I said exactly. Who gives a shit?
In my mind, it's like the people that are trying to get at you they want a reaction out of you. Like you've gone through, I've gone through enough guys where you're getting yapped at all the time that the minute you give back, they stop because that's what they wanted. So when you just like smile at guys, especially you with no teeth, you smile at guys when they're chirping you. Like when it doesn't irritate that person, like when I chirp people and you don't react, it becomes no longer fun for me.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's what a mutant is. Just anything in like business, relationship, just not giving a fuck about the thought and the negativity.
I think my wife would disagree with you on that. I would not give it a fuck.
That's true. I'm single.
Are you listening to me? Just ignore. Are you fucking kidding me?
Loosely, but there's different not giving a fucks.
Yeah. Right. No,
not
for
giving
sure.
a shit what people think, and they're just not.
And that's what it is, right? And it's like, so people have said to me before, like, how does that not piss you off when people say this? Or like I've read things that this guy. I've read Facebook comments and other shit, and I've read newspaper stuff and heard people say things on video like about me, and it's just completely incorrect. And it's like I'm not gonna lie, it's not that it's not that it doesn't get to me. It's just like, listen, if I sit down and I tell you guys my life story, and at the end of it you're like, Dance, I think you're a fucking idiot, be like, okay, man, like that's at least you've listened to what back. But if you're sitting there and you're like, and you say, hey, we're gonna have Dance on today, like, oh, who's that guy? Oh yeah, well, guy went to jail and guy did this and guy did, oh, okay, must be a fucking idiot then. And then you get me on, you're like, oh yeah, so you're an idiot, you ruined your career and you did this and you did, well, yeah, I am, but fuck, do you know anything like why it happened? Painting the same brush, right? Exactly, you know what I mean? So basically, like, it kind of, what it comes down to me is that if you don't know what's actually gone on, if you're just reading some Wikipedia shit and you're trying to make your own assumption without knowing the facts, and then you're chirping me, I got an issue with that. Like, shut your mouth, learn the facts, read a book, read some material, read some court documents. Then if you still feel the same way, man, I don't give a shit. That's your opinion, man.
I went back to his original point too about not knowing everyone's story.
Yeah.
Has Hollywood ever approached you?
I've had some publication companies and some production companies contact me about books and movies and miniseries and that, but it's just I'm in a position in my life where a couple years ago, I was in a position where I'm trying to get into the pro game. I've got some rods in the water. I've got some rods in the water, that I'm just letting the bobbers kind of pop up and down.
Not pushing.
And I don't want to have anything affect where I want to go.
That's fair.
The other thing is there's been 2 books written about me, right? And I've had no say in either of them.
Bullshit.
And when I looked into this a couple years ago, I wouldn't say a couple. It was maybe about 5 or 6 now. I looked into this company that approached me for writing a book. there's a son of Sam law, right? So I can't profit from my own crime. So I can't write a book about, I can't make an autobiography about, something about like the victims and stuff like that. Like the victims, and, some law like that, right? But some other clown can write a book about me and make money off me with no fact and doesn't even ask me about anything, right? I find that kind of messed up. But at the same time, to answer your question, yes, but I'm sure I'll end up doing something. Just not at this point. Especially my oldest, right? He's 6, right? So there's going to be a time in the next couple of years where he's going to have to be told like what's going on and stuff like this before.
Do you think about that?
For sure, yeah. We've talked about this. My wife and I have talked about this quite a bit actually the last year, because kids are in school these days. They're going to find out who you are and be like, oh yeah, well your dad went to jail, right? Then he's going to come to me, and I don't want him to find out from somebody at school. Absolutely. I want to be able to tell him, but I also want to be able to tell him. I don't want to be able to tell him a little bit where he doesn't understand. He has questions. I want him to be old enough where he can understand that, hey, you know what, my dad's a good guy, he made a big mistake, look what he's done after this, and you know what, just kind of tell it to him like everybody can make mistakes. It's how you learn from them and how you move on from them that makes a difference. And I want him to be a little bit older to where he can understand that.
A little bit of advice: when you do drop the news on him, take him to Dairy Queen or like McDonald's or something.
Whenever he loves.
Whenever my parents had to give me bad
Timbits and Dairy Queen for him.
Take him somewhere where he's going to take him to Atlantic Playland. Just take him somewhere. So as soon as he hears the news, he's like, all right, well, can I go on the slide? Like, just take him.
For sure.
That's the key to it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think I would much rather have a dad, that lived through shit that, and at the same time, like if someone, I feel like kids pick things up whether they know it or not. I just realized that as I got older, right? You pick things up from like your childhood that you wouldn't believe. So I'm sure he's going to hear some things, right? And he may have already. Who knows? Because the hockey world is a pretty tight community, right? So, but it's just like I don't think that's going to be a factor. I don't know. I don't know you that well, right? But I think the fact that you overcame what you have, it's like a Theoren Fleury type thing, right? Like now he's an advocate for helping people that do that. So that's what you're doing is you're making it. You're not making it open because you want to profit or benefit from it. It's because you want to make sure that other people don't make the same mistake you did.
Exactly, and that's the thing, right? Like I find like the big reason why I got into psychology and sports psych eventually here is because I think I've been blessed with a very useful set of tools that I can be looked at as a guy that has succeeded on and off the ice, but has also crumbled on and off the ice, right? So I want to be able to let players know that, hey, here's these triggers that I can recognize and I can teach somebody else to recognize. And when you get there, you gotta take the right turn instead of going the left turn, because if you take the left turn, you're going to spend 6 years in the cinema, or you might die, or something else detrimental could happen. And if you don't, you turn right on the road, then some good things are going to happen. You're going to be able to get your education, play pro a little bit longer, have a great family, and just go on it that way, right?
And like, what are they going to call you on bullshit?
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? And that's where coming back where I'm trying to like work with people, and they're saying, well, you're not a good fit. I'm like, motherfucker,
you have a hockey camp
fit,
now.
Right?
Like if I have kids anytime soon, they'll be going to his hockey camp.
Right,
go learn from this guy.
Teach them how to stick kids and fight. And
well, he already know that from me. maybe I won't have to send them. I want to. I
got a question. I'm waiting for you.
Hit me.
Relationships that you made inside the Clink.
Right.
Should I call it the Clink or jail?
Just call it whatever you want. It's your show, buddy.
I don't know what sounds cooler. Clink's cooler.
Gray Bar Hotel, Sin Bin.
Here we go. See?
Right?
If you ever want to come back on, if you want to co-host, you got all three of us. You can come right back anytime. I feel like we could be doing this for another hour, and we
got a time limit. Do we have a time limit?
Man, we could do for 3 hours if you want.
Let's roll it. Or you got to like go upstairs and for. Well,
I got to be in bed in an hour and a half. But other than that, we're good to go. Relationships that you made, like I think everyone talks about that you went to jail, but no one talks what you did in jail. Like. Oddly enough, I have a fascination with jail. I want to go to jail for like one day. I just wanted to see what it's like in there. I know.
I'm too small for jail.
I know. I just want to see what it's like. But yeah, relationships that you made. Did you have any cool cellmates? Did you make a relationship like with some of the guards? Did you ever work in the kitchen? Did you read a certain book? Like what did you do?
You ever try and break out?
What do you do?
Man, I thought of it, man.
Did you?
When I first got, I had a rough first of all. Probably the best stories of my entire life all come from jail.
Unreal.
They're just who? No, seriously. Like I've seen a lot, man. In 5.5 years, especially like 5 of them being in the U.S. There's some pretty fucked up people in the U.S. jail system, right? But there's some pretty solid people at the same time, right? But yeah, my first 3 weeks were pretty rough, and I've talked about this enough times. You guys have probably heard that. I contemplated, trying to break out. I contemplated trying to pay the guards, because back then I still had some money before my lawyers fucking sucked me dry, right? So I was contemplating on talking to these guards. I sniffed a couple of them out, and it's just I was in California when I got arrested and stuff, and they had to bring me back to Missouri, right? But I tried to hang myself. I think it was about 3 weeks in, and they gave you these towels, right? So I made a noose with a towel. I ripped the towels into a bunch of little shards, and I tied a noose, and I tied to the top of the bunk bed, and I jumped down. I just the way, and it's funny, right? Because I said that I didn't enjoy hockey back then, right? But at the same time, that was my entity, right? I was a hockey player. That's all I knew, right? So with me being in jail, my lawyers are telling me, yeah, you're probably going to do like between 7 and 24 years. And I'm thinking 24. I'm 24 now. I'm going to be 48. I'm not going to be married. I'm not going to have kids. I'm not going to have money. I'm not going to be a hockey player.
Nothing.
What am I going to do when I come out of jail at almost 50 years old? Even if it's 7 years, I said, I'm not going to play hockey again, right? So that's all I knew, right? So I figured my life was over, because I thought that my gateway to a wife and kids and success and money was through hockey. And if I didn't have that,
Canadian kid.
Yeah, and if I didn't have that, then fuck it, right? So I tried to hang myself, and fortunately, the towel broke. It snapped in half as I jumped off the bunk bed, right? I just sat there and I wept like a little baby, and it was kind of like, it was more or less, I can't believe I did that, like a reflection of, I can't believe I did that, and wow, how fortunate am I to still be here. I got a lot of shit that I need to fix.
Did you take that as a sign?
100%. And I've said that time and time again, right? That it was definite sign. I made a promise to myself, Kate, I'm never going to do that again, no matter. That was my lowest of the lows, right there, right? I had nothing, and I didn't think I was going to have anything. I reflected on that quite a bit since I've been out, because I've had ups and downs too since I've been out, and I'm like, you know what? It still isn't as bad as it was back then, and I tried to kill myself then, right? So keep trucking, keep moving forward, and that's really like my life story, right? So just keep on trucking type of thing, right? But some of the,
I love it.
Yeah, right?
I love it, man.
Who doesn't, right? Like, you watch those movies like Rudy and shit like that. Like, everybody loves those movies. Like, Remember the Titans,
Dude,
those
the
underdogs,
triumph story, the success stories,
right?
Like,
and that's the
everyone
thing,
loves
right?
an underdog.
100% they do, right?
And even the best part was, like, if it was a movie, everyone would be fucking cursing you for what you did, and then by the end of the movie, they'd be like, "Man,
right?
I want to meet Dan." And they're like,
right?
"I fucking
walking
love that
out with
guy."
a Woody
like,
and shit like that.
like, how did he survive all? Because that's crazy shit. You just told that story, and like that's some of the realest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to be able to, like you said, come out, you're running a hockey camp, you got kids. Like, I'll keep reiterating it, because my main point is, doesn't matter what happens. You do have another chance, right? Some people obviously
100%.
don't get another chance, but if you get your second chance, fucking take it.
The hard part about that too is that even when you get a second chance, it's still hard to get a second chance with the majority of people, right? Like, SMU opened their doors to me, right? UNB's opened their doors to me, right? There's a couple groups that I'm working with that have opened their doors to me, right? But I've had a lot of doors slammed in my face just because they don't want to be associated with me, and I get it. So on one hand, I get it. It's like, okay, I get it. You don't want to mess up your image of your business or your hockey team or anything, right? Like, you don't want to be that person that gave Dance a chance and maybe he does something to fuck that up, and people are going, well, why did you do that type of thing? So I get that, but then what I don't get is looking at it from the other lens, saying like, look at what my players or my school or my kids could learn from a guy like this. You know, like, it's just a continuous successful, human being that fucks up still from time to time, but still keeps pushing on forward and has made the best of his second chance.
It's
right?
a brick by brick story,
for sure.
Don't you think that people aren't listening or aren't going to listen to this with that in their heads? You know what I mean?
I'm hoping so.
And that's the biggest thing. So
getting back to jail. Yeah. Well, I'm not going back to jail.
I know.
Going back to this jail story.
If you ever do go, let me know. I'll come in just like for one. Not if you do go, like if you go for a day to visit or something. Let me know.
He's like, he's got one call. He's like, fuck, I need to call Belly. He's like, there we go. Hey,
just wait, I got to call.
Hold on, I got to get the podcast going. Hold on. So we got Dance here in jail. We're doing a 6 to 9er.
We could do a behind the button for that. Like if you go, we'll get dudes dudes to film, and you and me will go and say hi to your friends or something.
There we go. Okay.
Anywhere near there.
Set.
Friends. I want to know, like, friends. Like, if you made any friends in there.
I have, yeah. I'm not gonna say that. I've kept in contact with 1, 2, 3, 4 guys from there, and various crimes. Is just, you know what, they're you know, one guy's a big ass black dude that I taught how to play floor hockey.
What a weapon.
And man, he was a vicious defender because he's just swinging his stick around, like, right,
checking you from the other end.
Oh man, well, because we had a tournament. I was in Minnesota, right? I was doing time up in Sandstone, up in northern Minnesota, and a lot of like hockey loving, you know, white dudes up there that sold a lot of drugs were up in northern Minnesota, and they put this hockey tournament together, and it was talked about for a couple weeks, and they were like, I remember the day, they were like, because we used to have hockey every Saturday and Sunday on the weekends, floor hockey for like I loved it, right?
How did you keep you sane? Was it like captain, or like I picked you?
Exactly. No, we let the other guys do that stuff.
So you always went first overall.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. I usually got stuck with the shit with I wouldn't say the shitty guys. I usually got stuck with the guys that weren't as good, right?
Did you go earlier in the fifth round in jail, though?
A lot earlier than 50. I was like an early second rounder, right? No. So anyway, because we used to play for every 3 hours every Saturday and Sunday. So the boys got together a floor hockey tournament. And they didn't tell me about it. So they went and picked their teams. They submitted their teams to the recreation department, right? And then I'm noticing this shit, and I had like 3 days to put a team together, and they're all laughing because they took all the guys, they took all the regular hockey playing guys, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I went around to, you know, not trying to, you know, be racist or segregate or anything like that, but I went to around to like a lot of the white dudes that, you know, were interested in hockey. Hey, do you want to play? Like, man, I don't know how to play. I don't know this, I don't know that. So I had a team filled with black dudes and Mexicans.
I'm just picturing the longest yard right now.
Me too.
Man, it was unbelievable. So the Mexicans, not to stereotype in any way, but it's just these 2 Mexicans I had on my team, they just ran around like they had non-stop energy. Like they just zing, 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 zing. Had no idea how to play. And I had to teach
team like Moneyball.
Right? Well, and I had to teach my buddy, the big black dude, I'll call him, I'd teach Freddie how, big Freddie. I had to teach Freddie how to play defense, right? And man, he was like, so what do I do when they come get it? It's like, man, just take your stick and you just active stick, you know, like don't let him go. But his active stick, he was like jumping left to right, and Freddie, he's a big dude.
Now I'm thinking of Bubba Gump from Forrest Gump.
No. In fit big dude. Big, so he was like, probably Freddie's like 6'3", 6'4", but he's like 260, 265, just a monster, a bicep size of your head. So he's jumping from left to right with a stick, moving like this. Nobody wanted to come near him.
Quick question: What kind of sticks are you using?
Like aluminum shafts with like plastic blades, right? Yeah, kind of shitty, but we made it work, right? So anyway, so long story short, we ended up winning the tournament, right? So I got the last laugh with all those guys, but yeah, they stuck me with a multinational.
Was Freddie Conn Smythe or what?
Man, Freddie won the what's the defensive war? Selke?
I think so, yeah.
Frank J. Selke, yeah, he won the Selke for sure, yeah. His plus minus was unreal.
Now I'm picturing, I keep going back to Chiller Park Boys, and I'm sorry, but I keep picturing Ricky's getting kicked out of jail. He's like, let me back in, it's the fucking hockey tournament. And they do a cut, and it cuts over to the goalie, right. And he's got like the milk jug as a mask. Right. He's got like one of the trays as his locker and his pads. Yeah.
No, the goalies, we had equipment. We had proper equipment, right?
Minnesota, no doubt.
Yeah, Minnesota for sure, right? Yeah. But no, I keep in contact with 3 or 4 of the guys. Pretty sure it's 4 of the guys. Yeah, I'm not trying to think of them all.
People can't knock you for that because you came out of there and you're a good person.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing, right? It's not like I'm you know, cohorting any crimes with these guys or anything like that. But it's just, you know, they were solid dudes. We kept in contact, and that's that, right?
You get a roommate, you learn a lot about living together.
Well, yeah, too, and then they're in jail too. They don't like to put, you know, whites with blacks, you know, Dominicans with whites and stuff like that. If you're in a cell, you're in with a white dude, right? So that's kind of how it is. And I spent a lot of my time. I don't know if you guys know this, but so I spent 65 months in jail, and 22 of them were in solitary confinement in the U.S.
Can you explain what that means again?
Oh man. Okay, so solitary confinement is you open up a cell door. You're in there. There's a bunk bed. There's the room's maybe 8 feet by 6 feet, maybe 10 feet by 8 feet.
It's like from me to the wall.
So the ceilings are usually what, 8 feet, I think.
Yeah, like
8 feet. That's fair.
So it would be like maybe 8 by 6, I think, or maybe 10 by 8. Okay. 10 by 8 maximum, but you know, 6 by 8 is pretty.
And then from me to dudes.
Yeah.
No bigger.
So it's 8 feet long by 6 feet wide by about 12 feet high. 12 feet high, so 8 feet by 6 wide, right? So basically, if you're standing in the room, you outstretch your arms, you can touch both.
They don't
walls.
call it confinement for no reason. Right?
Yeah. So you walk in, and usually to the right, there's like a sink toilet combo, those silver sink toilet combos. To the right, you got your bunk bed, and then on the left-hand side, you have like a little writing table. Some places they have a window, some places you don't, and that's it. That's all you got.
And how long are you in that cell for the day?
24 hours.
Oh, you stay in there at all times.
You don't get to go outside?
Some places they have a rule where you can have an hour of free time a day, of out time, and if you're in there, like if they want to fuck you over, they'll let your free time be at like 4 a.m. They'll come knock on your cell in the wintertime, be like, hey, listen, your hour's 9. Go on out to the yard, and your yard is a caged in fence everywhere. In the summertime the sun can get you, in the wintertime the cold and snow can get you. So if you want to go out at 4 o'clock in the morning when you've gone to sleep at 11 o'clock in the blistering cold, then there's your hour, right? But if you don't want to go, I never went, you're in there all day. That's it.
The thing is, we're sympathizing with them, but at the time it's like nobody else will, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, too bad you have to go stand in the cold when you're in solitary confinement, you know what I mean?
So then they let you shower. They let you shower like once every 4 or 5 days.
I'm okay with that.
Well, especially you're not doing anything, right? But yeah, I read a lot, man. That's where I
Did you ever write?
Reading. Oh yeah, I
resort to writing a lot if I'm like feeling down, which isn't often. But
you said you went to school in there, right? So
right.
Did you work in the cell?
See, not in there, not at that point. I wasn't at that point, but I got a lot of, like, I would guess I'd say fan mail. A lot of people used to write me. Yeah, a lot of people used to write me.
That's
and
good
it kept,
for the hope, anyways.
Yeah, and it kept you busy, right? So it worked on my writing skills and all that, but it kind of kept you. So you've got like these 25, 30 different relationships going on, and you're hearing about other people's lives and their kids and stuff like that. It's going back and forth, and it's pretty interesting.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the picture of that guy wearing the orange jail suit with your name bar on the back? Did you see that?
That was in St. Louis, right?
Yeah, man.
I threw that up on my Twitter feed. Yeah. And somebody sent it to me.
What do I go? Mike Danton jail jersey. It'll come up, I promise, man.
Oh, it's hilarious. So yeah, this guy was at the outside St. Louis Blues Chicago Blackhawks game.
How the fuck did you know?
And he was in. He had an orange jumpsuit on, and he had my Blues jersey on over top. Fuck, it was funny.
Where did you put it? Did you?
I think it was on. Was it on Twitter? I'm pretty sure it was on my Twitter. I think I put it on there.
It was on your Instagram.
No, it wasn't Instagram. It was Twitter.
On Instagram.
That's it right there.
Yeah,
there you go. You got it. Yeah.
But the thing is, this is like 10, 15 years later, and Buddy just is like, fuck it. This is. Right? And he was a legend on the internet because of it.
Yeah. So it was an alumni game. I guess the guy said it was.
Yeah.
Right? The guy's got an orange hat. Like that's a beauty. That's a beauty pick.
Full jail suit.
Full jail suit. Full orange jail suit. And he's got my jersey on. It's not official. It's got the starter down there at the bottom. But
bro, if you're wearing my jersey, I'm happy about it.
Right. Well, I honestly, I looked at that. I laughed. I was like, man, that's sweet.
Yeah,
that's funny, right? Wonder if he had the fighting strap hooked up or not.
I have one more question before I'm done.
Yeah.
Jesus. You haven't updated your mutant of the week in a while.
Oh fuck! I got lots of mutants out there. I got to be careful though. 2018, right?
Yeah,
you can't be.
That's why I waited till the end to bring.
You know what? I'd say mutant. I'd say mutant of the year.
Can I read the only one?
We'll probably go to Don's. Mitch Donnelly, you're the mutant of the year,
bud.
bud.
The one that you wrote for the fans, maybe?
Yeah, for sure.
I won't tell them where it's at or anything
one guy
like
named
that.
Justin, and then just let it be there, right? Just throw all the Justins under the bus.
Right.
Okay, so mutant of the week. I love this, man. I cried. It says, where's that? Hold on. Of course, it's not working now. All right. A mutant is an incredibly hideous person. You can be a mutant simply because you are extremely ugly, or you can be a mutant because you have committed an extremely hideous act. It is safe to say that it is not a good thing to be, or be referred to as a mutant. Be cautious, we are looking for mutants on a weekly basis. It says, Justin Bieber is an idiot. He is also Canadian, and that embarrasses me. And I at a certain point, I agreed with you. This photo says it all. He has no body hair, no muscle mass, and either wears his undies too high or his pants too low. Either way, he's a mutant.
You're a good writer.
Hey, his prison rap sheet is longer than mine, but his Hollywood cash keeps him out of the can, where he would most definitely be at the bottom of the totem pole. Oh, that hits hard. He drives while intoxicated, harbors drugs in his home, eggs his neighbor's house, and claims he is retired. This kid doesn't know whether he's coming or going. And he is supposed to be a role model for kids. Justin, hit the weights, use your man voice, stand up when you pee, and stop being a mutant.
That was pretty solid.
Oh, man, that was amazing.
When do you write that?
Contrary, you do have a monthly beauty, so you're not an asshole, right? You have a monthly beauty.
I have a beauty too, yeah.
So
it's there, yeah.
So there's both sides.
I haven't updated that in a long time though. But if I had to give one out, it'd have to be Don's for sure.
You got a good picture up there with the stick, the old classic hockey.
Yeah, that was long. I haven't updated that in a long time. Yeah, I don't know. I might have to delete that. I got some rubbish on there. So
first day you came out of jail, did you go to McDonald's or anything? Like, what was the food item you wanted when you got out?
I went to Tim Hortons because I got released. I was supposed to get out, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks prior to, but they were just it was kind of bullshit. They said paperwork, but I found out later that they were trying to throw off the media of when I was going to be released and whatnot. So they let me out at like quarter to 6 in the morning, and went straight to Tim Hortons, had a French vanilla cappuccino and a Boston cream.
Good for you, man.
Great, you're a man. Like,
right?
Real men can admit to that.
Right?
Anytime I had to go watch my brother play, I'd always get a French vanilla, sit in that cold drink. It's one of the best drinks.
It's fantastic.
Better than anything at Starbucks.
I'm glad you were probably thinking about Timmy's the whole time, man. Because I go one day, and I can go. Right. I just don't. I'm like, man, I need my Timmy's. Like, this is crazy. It's been 5.5 years. I need my fucking double here.
Are you guy with the sweet tooth, or do you like a burger every now and then?
I love my burgers. But I got a mean sweet tooth.
Oh yeah, what's your go-to other than the Boston cream?
Anything, man. Super Joe Louis,
especially with the kids
sour.
Now too.
Yeah. Oh man, the kids are like, Mom, can I have this? Like, no. They're like, Dad. I'm like, yeah. Just wait till Mom goes to bed. We got that. Yeah.
How do people get that shit into jail? Like, don't they smuggle like shit like that into jail?
Yeah, you can.
Does that work?
You pay off the guards, man.
Is that how it works?
Pay off. Well, if we can't leave, how do drugs and cell phones and porn mags get in jail?
I always thought that it was visitation hours.
I also
are you gonna get a hoop a friggin' porn mag and then like shit it out and
that'll come up on the screen.
Oh yeah. Right, exactly.
What are you talking about, the screen?
Like, you have to do screening. You
get patted down.
Jail and they just like
you get patted down and stuff like that.
It's like airport security. You got to go through.
Yeah, but you get patted down. Yeah. So, but no, like the guards bring that stuff in, right? You give the guard money. He's gonna bring in a cell phone for you, and you have it, right? So
that's crazy.
Well, that's what happens when you're making fucking minimum wage doing a tough ass job.
Yeah.
You're looking for other ways to make money. That's what you and I are doing.
Yeah. You ever get to watch like TV or anything like that in there?
Oh yeah, they have TV rooms and movie rooms, stuff like that. But there's certain shows like I was in when Prison Break was in there, and they stopped allowing us watch Prison Break
when I asked.
Yeah.
That was a great show too.
Fantastic.
Did you finish it?
I did, yeah. I checked it out.
I think they're getting another season going there.
Yeah, but there was like certain shows, like everybody, like when that happened, that started a riot, right? And the same thing when you would be watching 24, if you had a dickhead guard on call or whatever, he'd like turn the lights on or like shut down all the TVs. It caused mayhem, right? So the guards are just asking for what they got, but yeah.
That
makes sense. It's just like when you're walking down the street, if you're being a peckerhead, you're going to get treated like that.
Right, exactly.
So
it just sounds like a society in just 4 walls.
And the rules are a little different in there too, right? You know what I mean? But it's 100%. It's definitely a societal. Is
it the same as like hockey? Like, guys that have been in there forever are the grandfathers or the veteran presidents?
Yeah, you don't fuck with older guys in there, right? You just kind of let them be. But at the same time, if someone's being a dick to you and you got to stick up for yourself, so you got to stick up for yourself, right?
Was there ever a time you had to do that?
7 times.
7?
Yeah.
You made it out, so that's good. Also, you remember exactly what number?
One time I almost didn't make it out. It was scary, but yeah, I made it out.
Well, you're a smaller guy, probably a little mouthy if you had to be. At that point, you're probably not.
No, because the way that I was looking at it, I was just, I'm coming in, I'm going to do my time, and that's it. I'm just off ice. Yeah, like because I knew that if something happened, that it was going to extend my time in there. You know what I mean? So come in there, keep your mouth shut, mind your own business, do your thing, and if somebody does something, then you gotta throw the bows.
There's another tangent we could have went off on, just being able to keep your mind on that.
Yeah. Oh man, I got so many stories. Literally, we could do this for 6 hours.
Yeah, we'll do another episode.
Yeah, we can do that.
I'm sure the people will want you back anyway. So now they're gonna be
yeah, absolutely. I hate when people come on. They're like, so like, what's the interview about? And I'm like, it's not an interview. It's like, it's a conversation. It's like, I don't know if your conception of coming on here was an interview. Was it?
No, I just thought it was kind of like a chill out sesh.
Yeah. The thing is, he probably listened, and then you get an idea.
I've heard you guys. I've heard you guys enough time to know what it's about too. So.
And that's one thing about hockey players, because when hockey players come on, they're just like, oh, it's going to be an interview. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of hard to, especially a guy that's playing. There's a little bit of a wall.
Right. You got to think too. Sometimes, like some guys, like you take like Highmore for example, we have to be careful too because it's not that you don't have a name to tarnish.
That's a 6.
But he is literally still going, and he's pretty much just at the start of his career, right? So you don't want to be too controversial with him, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a guy like he's obviously like Dance is open to talk about what happened because it's long ago, it's way in his past, so it's just different, right? Like that's why people are like, good Sid on. I'm like, well, Sid's not going to tell us anything right now. I'll get him when he's 50. And he doesn't give a shit anymore, and he's going to tell you all the stories that everyone's wanted to hear forever, right? So I don't know.
No, it's true.
But we'll definitely get you on again. I know there's going to be people that are going to be like, whoa, what happened here?
Well, I think what didn't we cover? I mean, I got everything that I wanted. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that the viewers or the listeners and viewers might want.
It's crazy for me, like for us too, because it's like we're the complete opposite life, but the one thing that we do have in common is hockey, right?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Do you want to say anything?
No, I'm good. Nothing that I really, I don't know. I think we touched on this earlier, right? I don't feel like I have to say anything. You know what I mean? Like what am I going to say? Hey, people accept me. I don't give a shit if you accept me. You know, if you don't talk shit behind my face, behind my back. You know what I mean? And if you do accept me, hey, I appreciate it. You know, you got some common sense. You got some common sense. You know what I mean? So it's just, no, I guess, you know, if you asked me if I wanted to say, I don't know, if, because of like the field that I'm trying to get into and stuff, you know what I mean? I think we kind of touched on this too, is that, you know, who wouldn't you want, you know, your kid to go to a hockey camp and learn hockey from, or learn some valuable off-ice information, or, you know, mental toughness, you know, like Jesus Christ, like those are like the 3 things on my resume, you know what I mean?
Accountability.
100%, you know, and I'm not one of those guys that you go into jail like, oh, what are you here for? Oh, I didn't do it. Yeah. Oh, I didn't ask you if you did it. What are you here for? Oh, but I didn't do it. You know, I know what I did and I know what I didn't do. Did it warrant fucking 5.5 years in prison? No, it didn't. I don't think so anyways, but I did my time like a man. I didn't snitch on anyone, even when I could have. And, you know, I got chirped for that too. Like a lot of people in my life were like, fuck, you can be out in 2.5 years. Like, why don't you just testify?
That would have came back and bit you later on.
You know, yeah, but you know what though? At the same time, like maybe I had a shot to play hockey again. Who knows? You know, I could have worked a deal with the government. Hey, let me back into the States if I testify, do this, do that. You know, but at the same time, it was like when I said to the FBI, they were like, well, we want you to testify against your co-defendant and we want you to bring her down. I'm like, man, that's not my job. That's your job. Like, was she guilty? Did she know what she did? Yeah, she knew what she did. Her defense got her off. Mine, I didn't go to trial. I pled guilty, right? That's whatever she's got to do. That's her thing. And you guys have that alignment there, your relationships. So.
And that's one thing I think, and you just triggered me now, is society as a whole, is everybody spends so much time worrying about what the other person is doing.
That's it, man.
To not think about what the fuck they're doing.
That's it. Yeah. Too many people worried about, and it drives me nuts because I got 3 kids now, and one of them's in school. He got bullied last year. Man, oh, that's another. My kid got bullied. Man, I lost my shit.
What'd you do?
Oh, it's just the principal and the teachers. They're just like, well, we have a regimen of what we do, and we have to do this. Well, fuck, it's not working. Like he got bullied like 4 times in a 3-week span, and they kept on going to, oh, well, now it's step 2. Oh, now we have to go to step 3. Well, fuck, the kid's an idiot.
Well, what's step 5?
Or something's going on. Well, because he's like pointing fingers at my kid and going bang and spitting on him and kicking him and hitting him. Like, what's going to happen next? Is he going to bring a friggin' knife from home? And is step 6 going to be me going to the emergency and whatnot? Well, that's the thing, right? Well, and that's what I said to the principal. Like you can either handle, after the last time, I said, you can either handle this how it should be handled, or, you know, and I'm not going to get into the mistakes that they made, but somebody made some pretty valuable mistakes where I saw who the kid was and the kid's address, and it was a big mistake. And like I said to my wife, I'm like, this is really bad. Like if this happened, if my kid was the bully and somebody really wanted to take it out on me, they could have just got my address and come and dummied me. You know what I mean? They made a big mistake, but at the same time, you know, I'm not about that anymore, right? I use me, but no, but seriously though, you know what I mean? Like I just ended up saying to the principal, like, you take care of this and you do the right thing, or I'll take care of it my way. Like, well, we don't need it. I said, well, I'm not threatening anybody. It's just, you know, but I know what the kid looks like. My kid's pointed out the kid to me. I'm gonna wait till the parents come up and be like, hey, listen, like, what are you guys doing at home that your kid's gonna come back, you know, 4 times, 5 times in a month and keep beating up my kid?
Or what is, you know, it that what you're I mean? Not doing?
Well, and exactly, that's the right? Point, exactly. So and that's what it is. But you know, it kind of that was the hardest thing for me so far as being a parent is dealing with my kid getting bullied. And it's like, and I'm sitting there and I'm telling my kid, like after the third or fourth time, and I'm like, Tanner, you know, I don't care what people think about this, but you know, I know I've told a couple people, like, well, you probably shouldn't have said that, right? But I told him, I said, listen, if he hits you again, punch him as hard as you can, right in his face. Scream, yell, attract attention, and hit him as hard as you can. He'll never touch you again. And he started breaking down. He was like, but I don't want to. It's just, he's a good kid. He just doesn't want to do that stuff. Now my middle guy, oh shit, Jax, he's a menace, man. My middle guy, I'm worried about him, because if somebody hits him, he's just, gloves are off. He's going in the playground. He's just going to town.
But at the same time, if we were to sit here and interview bullies from and now I'll say I was a bully. I wasn't a physical bully.
Right.
It was like more of like a mental thing. I just didn't know the line of hurting people's feelings. Anyways, if you punch him back in the face, I can almost guarantee you that bully stops. I got jumped by 3 guys in elementary school I was sticking up for my buddy who was smaller than me, if you can believe it. And they jumped me at school, and myself and Tommy, we fought back, and we pretty much beat the shit out of all 3 of them. And I'm telling you, to this day, if I see them, they're like, what's up, man? How's it going?
Right.
That was grade 5.
Right. Yeah,
and
sure.
Bet you they never touched anybody again, because they... So, yeah,
well,
I agree with your message, is what I'm saying.
In today's society, though, it's like you probably have the majority of people going, oh, I don't like that Dan for what he told his kid. That's not good parenting.
Yeah, because their kid's the bully.
Well, either that, or, you know, they're bringing up, you know, Johnny and Timmy that's going to be soft, and allow that stuff to happen for the rest of their life. And what that does is that promotes that behavior that their son or daughter is going to be susceptible to that when they get into business, you know, in school, you know, the profs and other students.
It's not
hey, can you do this?
Now.
Right. Can you do this work for me? Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess I can do that, because they were bullied as younger. When they get into work, people stepping all over their toes and all over their necks to get up higher. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I'll do your work.
If you don't let your kid figure things out on his own, then all of a sudden he's 35 100%. And he's like, I don't know how to do this. Can you do it for me?
Yeah, like stick up for yourself. You know, make sure that you're a man, or you make sure you're a woman, and stick up for yourself. And you know what? Bad shit's not going to happen. Just like you said, you know, the guys say hi to you, right? And that's what I was trying to teach my kid. Obviously, the first time he came home, I was like, okay, we got to deal with this a little bit different.
Yeah, the first time is no.
And I'm wondering, you know, and I'm wondering, my oldest, you know, he's a good kid, right? So I was like, saying to my wife, was like, I don't see him doing anything to start this, right? But it was his first year in school. Maybe he didn't understand relationships and this kid was 2 or 3 years older than him as well, too.
So you're a parent that's given the benefit of the doubt to both sides right off the bat.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I talked to his teacher, talked to the principal, and anyways, it just kind of escalated. And it kept on going, and I was like, you know what? I had enough. I was like, Tanner, I don't want you to keep coming home and crying about the stuff. Punch the kid in the head. He does it to you, punch him back as hard as he can. He's not going to bug you. Yeah, for sure. No, and that's the thing, right? Because I don't want my kids to grow up going around bullying. And we talk about that in society. Like, we have to talk about those things, right? Because things are happening so much earlier in school these days that
cyberbullying. That's another one
for sure, right?
Well, that's easy. And adults do that. You know what I mean? You imagine kids; they don't know the difference.
Did adults get bullied?
Dude, think about all the trolls that we were talking about. Turpin Danton, the guy on
man, I could if I was super emotional and not in touch with my feelings, and I could be like, oh, you hurt my feelings.
I guess that is a form of bullying.
For sure,
but if you're an adult, I guess you don't even. If some guy made fun of me, I would just like.
But then if you come back,
let's fight. What are you doing? What are you talking about?
Some people aren't. Right. Yeah, exactly. But a lot of people don't think like that, right? Everyone's different, right?
So I apologize.
But you're right. You do have to talk about shit, and anything that we ever get done around here, it starts with a conversation.
Yeah, 100%.
A petition or on the radio or anything, right? And then all of a sudden, someone's like, "Oh, up in arms about it," right?
Yeah. It's funny how policing or fighting just polices everything, especially in hockey.
Right.
You fight a guy, it's over. Same thing with the school ground in elementary school.
If society was like hockey, the world would be an unbelievable place. You fight a guy and you sit 5, you and him go for a beer after,
right?
Yes, and then you're like, we might fight again.
But it's never that easy, though. You know what I mean?
And that's a rare thing that people don't take that concept. Imagine me, because we fought, by the way.
Our first fights in junior.
His first junior fight was my second, I think.
So where'd you guys play?
Junior A. So it was at the Forum.
Okay.
Your old home.
So we're not going to talk. We're not going to tell teams.
I played for Bridgewater.
Halifax Lions.
Okay.
And we went to the same high school. And I remember he texted me at lunch. He goes, "Hey, listen, Belly, the boys are chirping me. I got to go with you
I got to get a tilt."
So I'm just like, all right.
Because I'm a multi-rat guy, right?
Get to who won the fight?
He did, I think.
Oh, wow.
Look at his alien arms. Look at me.
Right? Oh, I hear you.
Great rebounder.
But at the end of the fight, our buddy Manson's brother, he said to me, he goes, "That was such a weird fight. Like, it looked
weirdest.
like... I think there was really only one punch thrown. And when he hit me, I was like, what the fuck? the last thing I remember was his mom telling him that he loved him. Like, well, how does he punch like that?
Right,
like, the guy was just like, it didn't look like you guys want to punch each other.
Right.
So for me, I'm not the guy that can just go out and fight. You need to like really piss me off.
Right.
So for me to fight Belly, who I just went to high school with, we played in the same major midget team.
Right.
We went like almost all the way. Like we grew up together playing. I just couldn't punch him.
Right.
But anyone ever teach you how to fight?
But he did me a solid.
Just I learned. My first year at junior A. So back when I played hockey.
I'm listening. I'm just looking at the picture.
Back when I was growing up, if you played midget, you were garbage, right? So we went right from in Toronto area. We didn't have like the collective groups here. Like we didn't have like Pee-wee, and then Bantam, and then midget. Like we had minor Pee-wee, major Pee-wee, minor Bantam. We had enough players that we could have triple A's for each
filter it out, right?
For sure. Yeah. So after major Bantam. There were so many junior A teams in the area that if you were good enough, you'd go and play junior A. Cool. 15 years old, right? 15, 16 years old.
Bantam draft kind of thing.
Yeah.
Same sort of style.
Yeah, right? So we played major Bantam, and if you played midget, you were like, hey, you're going nowhere. That was like house league back when I played, right?
In Ontario.
For sure. In Ontario, in Toronto area, right? Mm-hmm. So we'd play major Bantam, we'd go to junior A, and my first year in junior A, I played 28 games. I had 28 points, 281 PIMs. I just fought everybody.
So
every game I
yourself.
fought. Yeah, I just fought, and I fought 20-year-olds. I fought 16-year-olds, and it didn't matter. I just fought. My stats are pretty damn on, aren't they?
10 goals, 18 assists, 281 penalty.
200, and I 28 games, or was it 35 games?
35 games.
35 games. I fought everybody and everybody. The guy in the league at the time had let
me see.
The guy in the league that had more PIMs than me. I think he had like 308, but he played in like he was a 20-year-old. He was 21, and he had all the games. Yeah, he was a bruiser though. Him and I actually never ended up fighting.
I seen you fought Barnaby, Ott.
87 points.
Yeah.
87 points.
Yeah. But I was a stud junior player, man. And look at my games played. I missed like 10, 12 games every year due to
suspensions. Probably.
It just goes to show you, it's like if you play in the NHL, even if you are a scrapper, you got to be skilled.
So that's what my dad always used to say. He said the worst player
I played against Max.
on the worst NHL team is still one of the best hockey players in the world. Like look at a guy like Ty Domi. Ty Domi tore the shit out of junior hockey.
He did. He got like 60 goals one year.
A couple years. And then he had to come and he just like, I don't know whether you lose it or not, or you just don't get that position to do what you were doing, but then he's the most feared guy on the ice. And then he scores and everyone's like, what the fuck? And you're like, you look up his stats and he had like 70 goals one year and you're like,
man. Someone else told me it's like to make the NHL you got to win the lottery twice or something. Like those were the odds of it. I'm like, how many kids across the world play hockey?
Yeah, there's a lot of kids.
And then to make it, you got to win.
Funnel, man.
Yeah.
You got to win the lottery twice. And you played in the fucking NHL, man. That's something no one can ever. I wouldn't mind
winning the lotto a third time. Right?
Or a fourth
winning some fucking money or something like that. Jesus Christ.
You have more NHL playoff goals than I have.
Yeah.
I did be a pro on my Xbox.
But you know what? And here's a fucked up thing that we never even got to touch on here is that so we played my last year in St. Louis. We played San Jose, right? In the playoffs, and I think I scored my first goal. It was either third game or fourth game, right? I can't remember. It was actually a really sweet goal, to be honest with you.
You were watching it before you got
it. It was really sweet goal.
Came out of the corner, he walked out and went top blocker.
Yeah. No, I think it was bottom. I think it was low because I kept it right along the ice. I came across, and I think it was Nabokov, was it?
Yeah, Nabokov. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, anyways, so picture that. That was, I think it was game 3, and then the next night or the night after, can't remember what it was. Game 4, we lost. So within a week span, I score my first NHL goal. We go to San Jose for game 5. We lose game 5. We're done out of the playoffs. Get out of the dressing room about 10:30 that night. 7:30 the next morning, I'm in jail for the next 65 months. Nonstop. So you go from I was making what, $550 that year. I think I was making $550. 10:30, my contract basically ends, right? Well, you don't get paid in playoffs anyways, right? But
unless you win.
Yeah, unless you win, right? You get your bonuses and that, but your salary, probably not a lot of people know that, right? You get your salary ends after the regular season.
Oh yeah,
right?
Fuck yeah.
So when you're in playoffs in the NHL, and that's why everyone says that it's like the most coveted.
Why do you think they're at such a next level?
They don't. You don't make money. The only time you get a bonus for every round you win, but you win the Stanley Cup. I think I can't remember what the bonus is. Maybe like close to $1 million, something like that.
Yeah,
right?
like a guy like fucking Wilson got like.
And it gets and it gets spread out, right? Like a accordingly. Like, so like captains and all that will be like, okay, like, you know, like you're getting $12, you're getting 170,000, you're getting like 37 cents, right? Right? No, but anyway, so that's what I'm saying, right? That's why everyone's like at the next level in the playoffs. Yeah. But you don't get paid. Everybody just does it because they want to win, right? I don't know if the other sports are like that. I can't comment.
I don't care what you say. That's on your mental. Like, I know it, you know, and people don't want to admit it, right? But if you're in your career and you're working for free, someone's gonna have something to say about it, you know?
Yeah, right.
So I watched a video not too long ago of that whole scenario, how you were, how you scored, and then like within like a week, everything just changed.
That was it, man. I played my last game, and it was less than 12 hours later. I got out of the room at 10:30 or whatever, 7:30 the next morning. I was in a jail cell.
I'd say that'd be the most interesting.
Went from making $5.50 a year to 12 cents an hour. Yeah.
Quick question. I know you know probably the video. It's like when your head's down, you're in the tunnel in San Jose, your head's down, like you're thinking right before you go on the ice. It was in the documentary.
Right.
Do you remember the thought process that was going through your head during that, when your head was down there?
No. What I used to do though is right before we would go out for games, I did in St. Louis too. St. Louis had a long walkway too. I'd always leave the room after the guy's coach would come in, Quenville would come in, he'd say some shit, and I'd roll out. Just everyone had like another 3-4 minutes to do whatever. I'd always go out in the hallway. I just by myself, and that's when I'd kind of splash water in my face. And I'm just talking to myself.
Just so happened that was your routine.
That was my routine, right? But at the same time, I knew what was going on. Like it's really weird to not to talk about, to kind of try and relay, because I want the viewers and the listeners to get a grasp of. I knew what was going on at that time. Like I know the conversations that I had. I know what I was doing. At the same time, I didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. You know, like I was cognizant of the fact that, I had talking to this guy at a bar, and I had talking to this girl, and I had talking to this police dispatcher. I knew that I had done that, but I didn't know what I was actually doing. Okay, you know, I wasn't in the correct mind frame of what was going on. So like when I've like,
you were aware what was going on, but it wasn't necessarily the right thing. It's basically like
I knew, and you knew that. Well, I don't think I knew what the right thing was. Okay, that's what I'm saying, right? So there's like, and that's what a lot of my story, you know, is based off of, is that, especially like, you know, a lot of the jailhouse tapes and that, and like you come away from that and you're like, how do you not know what was going on? Like something here doesn't make sense, right? And there's like a group of people that I've talked to and told the story to, and then like I remember I told my wife the whole story the first time, and she had questions, you know, obviously, and you know, so I kind of let her read a lot of documents that nobody else has read, you know, that only the courts read, right? So I let her read these things that nobody else has seen, and she's like,
past it otherwise.
Why don't you just tell people this? Mm-hmm. Just everybody will understand, and they'll be like, oh, okay. And that was her reaction. She'd be like, Mike, everybody will just be like, oh, okay, like we get it now. Yeah. And I'd be like, no, because that's like, but that's my golden egg. Like I lost almost $400,000 due to legal fees and everything, and like these certain things that nobody knows about that can make my story more understandable to everybody. I'm going to hold on to those until the right day comes along where I can actually recoup some of that money back. I'm not an idiot by any means. I'm going to try and recoup some of that money back, and then when people actually see that, everybody, all these naysayers and all these people like, oh, he's fucked, he's this, he's that, they'll be like, oh, okay. Well, then when the video, and then, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I get it. Yeah, he's not that bad of a guy, actually. Told you, you fucking idiot. You know, like, it'll make sense. It'll come out. It'll come out one day. It'll come out.
Think about it. The fact
but
that
in the
people
meantime,
have to
I don't
say
give a
that,
shit,
oh, he's actually a nice guy is just like ridiculous, right? Because you get painted with that.
Well, here's the thing. If there's anyone that's still out there waking up and thinking of Mike Danton, going, do you know what's going on in Mike Danton's head? You got other issues, man.
For sure. That's the thing, right? Like, years ago? Yeah, like you need a job or a girlfriend or something, right?
Like, really, I think if you really want to know, ask the guy.
That's it. I'm not.
He's open.
You know, just don't like, I'm rolling down the street with my wife and kids, be like, oh, so how was jail? Motherfucker, my kids don't know. Shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah, but no, like, right. You guys have talked to Don's enough, right? I've talked to Don's with a bunch of stories, and he'd be the first to tell you, you know, that Mike will be here, and there'll be 15, 20 people here that he's never met, and here come the jail jokes coming out, right? I don't give a shit.
Man.
I can't. It is right, but I can't hide from it, right? I've done what I've done. No sense, keeping it in the.
Well, that makes you look even more shady, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't give a shit. I don't care.
life's good, fellas.
It is.
Life's pretty fucking good right now.
Especially out of jail.
Yeah. No doubt.
Talk about the appreciation that you have for life. Ooh.
Yeah.
Just being free.
Yeah, and that's what it is, right? And that's one thing that jail does too, is that it's prison. It takes away. It takes away your freedom, right? So you're basically there's my spoon from your mom's coffee. Jeez. Which was bomb again, by the way. I gotta give it. That's 2 shout-outs. It was unbelievable coffee. She's gonna be. She'll be pumped that you're saying. She's the only one that listens to these podcasts. So I might. she'll hear you. I might show up here every morning and just grab a cup of coffee.
Lisa, you hear that? Dan loves the coffee.
Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Lisa.
No, it's so they take your freedom away from you, right? And you really don't know what that consists of. Like, so when you're in jail, you can go take a shit, if you want, but you can't leave and go grab a meal. You can't even go and call, your wife or your best buddy if you want, because there's certain times when you're not allowed out of your cell, right? So there's that was the toughest thing getting used to. They steal
things
these
you take for granted.
They steal these personal and private and emotional connections away, just because you can't have them anymore the way that you want to. So they kind of force you into segregation, into abiding by their own rules, right? And that was the most difficult point for me, was that my whole life up to that point was it was sheltered to a point, because it was more or less directed to do, and not allowed to figure out life on my own. So in jail, I had to figure out life on my own. I didn't have anybody else, and that's where I did my growing up, right? So that's why, a big reason why I think when I came out, I can handle, like my wife says to me all the time, she's like how can you going to school? I drive to Fredericton every week. I got 3 kids. I've got my hockey thing going on, right? Well, so I've got another little job on the side that I'm doing. She's like how, like, even when I'm home, I'm not home because I'm at the library, I'm at work or something. She's like, how do you do all this stuff? And I'm like, I just think that I can handle a lot of shit, because I grew up in a really shitty situation, like not my early years, but I did my growing up in jail, right? So if you can grow up in jail and come out all right, fuck, you're a step ahead, and you're a couple steps ahead,
way
right? Because you're dealing with a lot more relationships and interactions and shit going on while you got to look behind your back and check your food and sleep with one eye open and stuff. Then when you come into the world, it's like, fuck, I remember when I came out, like the first couple weeks when I came out, I was paroled in Toronto. And let's see, I can talk for hours, man. We can talk about this shit for hours. So,
I'm just making sure we don't run out of data, because it's going to my computer. But keep going.
Okay. Yeah, man, so when I got out Toronto, I was paroled in Toronto, and I'm rolling up and down Yonge Street for like the first 3-4 days. And you guys know Yonge Street's pretty fucking busy, right? Street. Down by the Eaton Center, Skydome, stuff like that, CN Tower. I'm rolling up and down, and that's how I figured to myself, okay, for the last 5.5 years, I've had to walk around looking over my shoulder, kind of, because I know I kept my nose clean, but at the same time, you get these Mexican dudes, right? So here's another thing. I'm kind of branching off, and I've got like 7 stories on the go right now, right? Kind of like my life at the time. But no, serious. Like the Mexicans in jail, like they'll go to jail for illegal reentry. They get 5 years for that, right? Yeah. So they'll get 3 meals a day. They get a bed to sleep in. They get long free clothes. Shit like that. They get to go at a job where they make like a couple $100 a month, and they're making more money, and they're getting better paid, and they have a better life in jail than they do in Mexico. So what they do is their 5 years comes up, they'll just go and stab somebody in the neck, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I got another 15 years, cool. All right, keep sending money home to my family. They're pumped, right? So and that's kind of and that like goes on a regular basis, and maybe it's not a knife in the neck. Yeah. But it's it's a fight. It's throwing a guy out a window. Something just to elongate their prison sentence, right? Because they have it better inside, right? So you gotta walk around kind of, even if your nose is clean, like mine was, you gotta kind of watch over your back and make sure you're not getting yourself into a situation that can be detrimental, because you don't know how it's going to come out on the other end, right? So
especially if you're new, and like there's guys that have been doing shit for years and years, and all of a sudden you step on their territory or something.
You come into the TV room and you want to change a channel because Days of the Lives is on, or whatever it's called, and you want to watch the baseball game at 2:00, and some guy's like just looks at you and be like, motherfucker, I've been watching this for 13 years. You just turn this off without asking me? Yeah, okay, you're going to get a chair to the back of the head.
Because I'll take another 10 years.
He doesn't care. He's got a life sentence anyways. You know what I mean? So everything's about respect, right? They always say in there, you can get years back, but you can't get your letters back, right? So if you get a life sentence, that's an L, right? You can't get a life sentence back. You can't get time off of a life sentence. You're in there for life, right? But you got 20 years. You can get some of that time back.
It's funny you say respect, because my brother, he was super good at hockey. He was supposed to get drafted not the NHL, but at the Q and shit like that. He ended up just hanging around idiots, kind of misguided growing up and shit like that. And I called him a goof one day.
Goof's a big
dude, and he, like, my brother in
Canada,
I'm telling you, this guy was a hard ass. Everyone was kind of feared him,
right?
But he was the nicest brother that I could ever ask for,
right?
But when I called him that word, and I had no idea what it meant, he lost his mind.
And that's a big thing, right? Like, you say, if you go to jail in the US, and if you say goof, it's not a big deal, right? But in Canada, I quickly learned, you call somebody a goof, they always say goof means go.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just, and you call somebody a goof, the guy's just going to clock you in the head, right?
Cultural differences can.
Yeah, it's like it's really disrespectful, right? But that's what prison's all about. It's about just kind of respecting people. As long as you respect people, you'll be fine, right? But
back to people staying in prison. My dad spent some time in Afghanistan, and he was in almost like a holding cell where they kept terrorists. Same deal. Just wanted to stay.
Badass.
You know, they just
probably
don't want to leave.
safer there.
Yeah, it was like, prison. I get a bed, I get some food, I got water, I got a shower, I got to brush my teeth.
Jeez, get your dad on the podcast.
No,
I'd love to hear
that's
that.
the thing is, like, he can't talk about that.
Right, man.
We had a wedding to go to in Jordan this year. He's like, I'm not going back to the Middle East. Can't go. He's just not safe there. He's on like a list over there, you know. But anyways,
cool. That's
that
badass.
guy's had some badass shit and terrorists, and he said that they know how to work a phone, because phones set off bombs. So he's like, you know, not the smartest people, but they know how to work a phone. You give them a phone, they can do anything with it. Take it apart, turn it into a fan. You know, they just know how to dissect a phone.
That's scary.
Because they can set off a bomb anywhere. They know.
We're seeing that in real life.
Wish I would have known that in jail. I could have turned my cell phone into a bomb, blown up my friggin' cell and got out.
Everybody out. I don't want to harm anybody. Just let me out of here.
Yeah, let me out. Yeah. No, but getting back to it, when I was released in Toronto, for like 3-4 days, I think I was released on the Sunday or the Monday. I rolled up and down Young Street for 3-4 days. There's thousands of people in Queen Street. This is right downtown Toronto, and that's what I would do all day. I'd walk down the right hand side, walk up the left hand side, and it was really tense. Prison fucks with you. It really does.
Yeah,
right?
Anyone notice you when you're walking down the street?
Oh, you know who the first guy was?
Doug Gilmore.
What's it? No, works Sportsnet as used to be a coach and GM. No, not Elliot. Older guy.
Pierre?
No, glasses. McLean. Doug McLean. I'm walking through. What's the area there? Hazelton Lanes area, and Richie uppity little area, and I'm just kind of got my arms in my pockets and I'm walking, and he goes, "How you doing, Mike?" And I kind of look up and I was like, "I'm good." And he's like, "Congratulations, good to see you." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks." And I was like, who the fuck is that guy, right? And then I'm watching TV and I was like, hey, oh yeah, it is the guy. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it makes sense, right? But yeah, he was the first guy. But there was other people. There was a guy one time I went to a Blue Jays game and said something like, hey, fucking Danton, shouldn't you be in fucking parole right now? Well, yeah, you can't be in parole, you dumbass. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I am on parole, but I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm on parole, but I'm not in parole. Doesn't mean I'm in a cell. You fucking.
I can also go to a Jays game.
Right? Exactly. Right?
Clown.
Jesus. But
did you go to a Jays game or Leafs game or anything in Toronto?
I went to a Jays game. And the dude was. That's what I'm saying. The dude was chirping me.
Oh, sorry. I think you meant walking down the street.
No. I was actually at a Jays game. Yeah, and the dude was chirping me. He was. He just said, "Fucking, shouldn't you be in parole?" I'm like, yeah, fucking.
Yeah, nice.
Just turned around. I kind of gave a smile like that. You know, I was like, fucking idiot. Yeah, whatever. But I walked up and down the street, and it was kind of it was tense, man. But after a few days, it didn't take a week, and I was good.
So did you do that to readjust yourself?
I did. Yeah. Because like I said, you have to
go to restaurants, order food.
Yeah. Well, another guy that I had gotten in, I had a really good connection with in Minnesota. He was an older guy. He was a Cubs fan. I fucking hated the fact that he was a Cubs fan because I'm a Cardinals fan. I hated him because of that. But we watched college football together. We watched every Cardinals Cubs series together, and he was an older guy, and he was in there for murder and bank robbery. Long story short, he robbed a bank with a couple buddies, thought his buddies were going to snitch. He killed them, kept the money, and he got caught, right? But anyways, it is what he is. But he was in there. He got like 30 years for it. He was in there for 29 years when I had met him. 28 or 29 years.
Holy shit.
So he went in there as a young kid. He was almost 50 when I met him. And he was one of the wisest, dudes I've ever come across. He had so much experience and so much life skills. It's funny that he developed them in prison, right? But what were we talking about before? Because there was a reason why I brought him up.
Imagine how many books that guy read, by the way.
Right?
Oh, shit. Sorry, we were talking about you're at the Jays game, you're getting chirped.
I'm readjusting. So he got released from jail, and I said, let's keep in contact. I'm not gonna say his name. So he's like, yeah, we'll do that. So he sent me a letter. Old school. Maybe a couple. That's how. But he'd been in there for 30 years.
How's your penmanship?
Unbelievable.
Love it.
For a dude.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Same.
Right? And my wife, she's like a doctor. Right? She writes can't even understand. It's like my 3-year-old writing that. Like, what's that say? Right? Like when we write notes to the teacher. When we write notes to the teacher, what is it? Like I gotta write that. That's fucking embarrassing, right? Yeah. She'll kill me for that one. Yeah.
Do you still write your number when you write your name?
Right? Yeah. So I'm like Danton 34. Yeah. No. No. So anyway, so he writes me a letter. It was a long, like 22, 24 pages, super awesome, just front and back, long yellow legal pad, like just like they give you in jail, right?
Yeah.
And so he had
probably
had a few saved up, you know what I mean, with his belongings and that. So he wrote it back, and I was super. And I'm reading this, and I tell you, halfway through, I started crying because that's right, I'm a man, I can cry. So halfway through, I started crying, and it's because he's telling me about the first time that he met his granddaughter, and they went out to a restaurant. Like the first time that he went to a restaurant with his granddaughter and his daughter, right?
Yeah.
So, just to give you the scope of it, and how simplistic we think, and how much we take life for advantage. Take advantage of life. Can't talk now. It's been 2 hours now. So
off.
Right, Lisa.
She'll come
so
she will
tap it up or top it up. Sorry. Fuck, mine's in the gutter. Jesus. So, anyways, he writes in the letter. So, anyways, he goes to a restaurant, and he's got to go to the bathroom. So he goes in, and he's describing, not like his genital, but he's describing taking a piss, in the
urinals.
Automatic urinals, right? So he's taking a piss there, and then he's done. He zips up, and he's like looking to hit the thing, and he's like, Mike, I can't find this. He says, I'm looking underneath, and I finally just say, well, it's okay. And he's so used to, and that's the other thing in jail too. You have to be so respectful. You take a shit, you take a piss, you double flush, you make sure everything's clean, because you don't want somebody coming in that's had a bad day sit on your piss or smell your shit, and then they're taking a bunch of batteries in a sock and just beating your head in because you've disrespected where they're going to take a dump, right? So he's so used to being clean and being respectful that he's trying to look for this button to push or anything that he can flush the toilet, and he just can't. So he's like, I've been in here for a couple minutes. I got to get back and see my daughter and see my daughter or my granddaughter. So he walks away, and he just kind of jumps and is like, flush. What was that? An automatic flush, right? So he's like scared him so much that he farted, right? He almost shit himself, right? So he farted. So then he goes over to use the sink to wash his hands. Once again, there's no taps, there's nothing.
Wow.
And he has no idea he says. So I walked away, and he says he got to the table, and that his daughter recognized that he was so gone, that he had he was just in another place right now. She was like what's wrong? And he kind of was like, I feel like a dirty, I don't know how to wash my hands. Like, he felt so infantile that he didn't know. So his daughter said to him, no, Dad, that's automatic. You put your hands underneath, it'll just come on. So he excused himself, went back in, and he was explaining to me that he's washing his hands at the same time that he's washing tears from his eyes, because he had been in jail so long he couldn't even take a piss and wash his hands because he had no idea. And there's people out there that are going to be like, well, it's his fault, he killed people. 100% he made a decision, he killed. But that's what prison does.
But your point was being to how we take things for granted and how you change, right?
And that's the thing, right? And like my wife, I chirp her quite a bit. I'm pretty hard on her, right? She's a good chick, but I chirp her pretty hard. And and she'll be like, oh, you're not home. I made food for you. It's going to be cold. And I'm like, fuck.
She pissed right now you're here?
No, she might after 2 hours. What time is that? She needs help putting the kids to bed, right? No, kidding. Well, not kidding, but she can deal with it. Suck it. Deal with it, Nance.
We'll here till tomorrow anyway. So.
Yeah, sorry it ran late. We just got to keep this on cue running, and then we can go out tonight and party and just be like, hey, it ran long. Sorry, right? She won't even know. She got 3 kids running around. She'll be like, oh yeah, it went 9 hours. I just keep it rolling, right?
But, now?
But yeah, no. So yeah, she'll be like, "Oh, you didn't come home, or you're at the library late. I made dinner. I made this nice meal." And I'm like, "It's not a big deal." She's like, "Well, you're gonna eat it when it's cold." I'm like, "Oh, I've had worse." You know what I mean? Like, it's not a bad thing, type of thing, right? But I always tell her, like, when something's going on, like she'll make big issues out of little things, and I'm like, "Nah, it's just
take a breath.
Take a breath, relax." A lot of other worse things are going on in the world. I don't give a shit about eating burnt hamburgers or cold pasta. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, I've been just take a step back. And she's pretty cool with that stuff. You know what I mean? It's what?
I just wish you knew him a lot longer, because he has, not that he's been to jail or anything, but he's just had to go through things as well that are very similar. He's taught me a lot.
We just look at things a lot the way, same way.
That's the thing, right? But everybody's gone through something. You know what I mean? And that's what we were talking about a little bit earlier. Everybody's got their Mike Danton story. It might just, maybe they didn't go to jail, but I've met people that even talked to me at SMU, people that I work with that have talked to me about their issues, and they've had some fucked up childhood issues. You know what I mean? They came from no money, didn't have enough money for food or clothes, and had to work 3 jobs. That's a similar story to mine, right? You still gotta, just because you didn't go to jail, or you didn't get beat up or molested as a kid, you still went through some adversity and you came out on top. And those are the stories I like, because that's me, right?
Think about this too. Even some good things weigh on you. Like for you loved hockey. That's what you were. But at a certain point, hockey was such a hassle for you,
for sure,
that it pissed you off, right? So it's not just the bad stories, right? It's the whole road. And it's funny. I thought of this earlier, and I'm amazed that I am reminded by it. But if your road, and I'll try and put it in like your era of time, if your road was a video game, it would be fucking Rainbow Road on Mario Kart, man, because it's like, it's fun, and then all of a sudden you're pissed off, but then you're back on the road and you're having fun again. You know what I mean?
100%. Oh yeah.
So I tripped your age there too, because I don't know, you like to chirp, so do I. So
that's all right.
I got the worst chirps.
You work on those though. That's the best thing about having a podcast, man. Like, you get people on that.
Better.
Yeah, I've heard that too through the grapevine, that you were terrible,
garbage,
awful.
Love it though.
Like I said, children pick things up all the time.
If you listen to episode like 1 to 99, whatever, you learn, man. You grow.
Seriously.
All right, boys, let's wrap it up here.
All right.
2 hours, 7 minutes. We got to get you back. Like,
we don't though.
Yeah, you do. Why not?
We don't though.
We can talk about.
Oh, you mean on? I thought you meant back home.
Oh no.
We don't need me back home right now.
Oh, no. But my bus pass runs out at 9 anyways.
Yeah, get me on. Yeah, we can do some other stuff. It's fun.
You can just leave your jersey here. You'll be back next week, so we'll see you here
every week. There you go. Cool. I actually just get fired now.
I don't know. I probably wouldn't last long on a podcast.
I'm like, man, these podcasts are good. How come he never calls me? But yeah, no, that was great. I think you painted a picture for a lot of people, and covered a lot of things that people were probably too scared to ask you. And to be honest with you, we might have been too. And I think you appreciate as much as I do how open you are about it, and the fact that you're willing to help people. To be a dad, all the shit you do that we covered that's positive, which was our main point. But I had a lot of fun, man. It was fun. It's nice to sit down with another guy in your culture, which is hockey, and shoot the shit. So just so everybody else knows, it's not really the interview like we talked about. You're sitting around shooting the shit. You get French press coffee,
3 sugars,
unreal coffee, Lisa, the bomb. 3 shout outs.
That was 4, I think.
God, that's worth 2, yeah.
All right,
take us home.
Let's do it. All right, everyone. High Button listeners, fans, whatever you want to call yourself, thank you very much for all the support recently. If you could go to all of our social media outlets, like, subscribe, comment, iTunes, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, all that good stuff. YouTube. You know how to do it. What did I say, YouTube? Oh, YouTube. Once again, Mike, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast, boys.
All right, dudes.
See you soon.
All right, we're out, boys.